World-Defying Dan God Chapter 5441, 5 Elements of Destiny. Shang had a confused look on his face and said, "The star servant is missing now. How can I find him?" Star servant is Qingxing, and Qingxing is his woman, which means that both of them have joined different destiny. Qingxing is the destiny of Shenyang, and he is the destiny of the 5 elements. He didn't know what would happen in the future, but he was certain that as long as he found Qingxing, it would definitely help him lift the seal of the source of the 5 elements. The golden servant smiled and said, "You don't have to worry too much about this. What you have to do now is to improve your strength first and become familiar with the use of the power of the 5 elements. When your strength increases, you can then find the source of the 5 elements and unlock it when the time comes. It's not too late to seal the source of the 5 elements." Chen Shang nodded. He now knew nothing about the power of the 5 elements of destiny, and he really needed time to become familiar with it. "Senior, how can I improve my strength and become familiar with the power of the 5 elements?" Chen Shang asked humbly. The golden servant smiled slightly and said, "This is simple. I will teach you a set of 5 elements destiny technique. This technique can not only improve your cultivation, but also help you master the power of 5 elements destiny." After saying that, a golden palm suddenly appeared in the void. This seemed to be the palm condensed by the golden servant through his own strength. He stretched out his hand and pressed it on Chen Zhang's forehead. Instantly, a huge amount of information poured into Chen Zhang's mind. It was the 5 elements destiny art. After a while, Chen Shang digested the information, and his face showed a joyful expression. "Thank you, senior." "Haha, you're welcome. You should practice the 5 elements destiny art now. If you don't understand anything, feel free to ask me," the golden servant said with a smile. Chen Shang nodded, sat down cross-legged, and began to practice the 5 elements destiny art. He is now in the endless dark void, and the power of the 5 elements is surrounding him, as if it has condensed into a space, and he can practice in this space with peace of mind. This 5 elements destiny technique is indeed extraordinary. As soon as Chen Shang practiced, he felt a powerful force of the 5 elements of destiny flowing through his body. This power seemed to be integrated with his body, making him feel extremely comfortable and powerful. Chen Shang practiced for a whole day and finally mastered the 5 elements destiny technique. He opened his eyes and found an old man with a golden shadow in front of him. He was the virtual image condensed by the golden servant, looking at him with a smile. "Senior, how is my cultivation going?" Chen Shang asked. "Haha, very good. You are indeed a genius. You have mastered the introduction to the 5 elements destiny art so quickly," the golden servant praised. Chen Shang smiled and said, "This is all thanks to senior's guidance." In the following days, Chen Shang worked hard to practice the 5 elements destiny art under the guidance of the golden servant. His strength is also steadily improving, and he is becoming more and more proficient in mastering the power of the 5 elements of destiny. "Senior, how can I find the star servant?" Chen Shang had previously contacted Qingxing through very illusory methods and had never seen Qingxing's true form. The star servant now only obeys the servants of Shenyang's destiny. "I discussed it with the servants of Shenyang's destiny before, and they allowed us 5 elements servants to take over Taichu world," the golden servant said. "Next, we need you to show that you are strong enough. With the power, defeat the star servant." Ah, Chen Shang was shocked. Qingxing's current condition is not good. Do you want to fight with her? This, after defeating star servant, will it have any impact on her? Chen Shang asked. "Is it affected? It's hard to say. This is a battle for destiny. This place originally belonged to Shenyang destiny. They have ownership of Taichu heaven and earth, so you continue to defeat star servant and put this place." "The process is complete," said the golden servant. "No, isn't the world of Taichu occupied by Shenyang's destiny?" Chen Shang frowned and said, "I should defeat the servant of Shenyang's destiny." The golden servant shook his head and said, "The method used by Shenyang Tianming is not recognized by the 6 major Tianming, so it cannot be regarded as Shenyang Tianming now. It can only be said that they succeeded in snatching it." "That, senior golden servant, to be honest, I know star servant, and he is still my woman." Chen Shang looked slightly embarrassed and said, "I will fight her when the time comes. I'm afraid of hurting her." Jin servant was stunned. He really didn't expect that Chen Shang and Xing servant actually had such a relationship. "You have something, you actually got involved with the star servant. You are worthy of being the person who can resurrect the 5 elements heavenly roots." After the golden servant was surprised, he said with a smile, you are very capable. Fortunately, I met you in time, otherwise maybe they will join the Shenyang destiny side, and then our 5 elements destiny will suffer a big loss. Ahem, senior, what will happen when I fight with the star servant? Chen Xiang was very worried about this question. You guys can discuss how to solve it then. You are so familiar with her anyway. The golden servant, who only had a golden shadow, patted Chen Zhang's shoulder and said with a smile, it's just a formality, don't take it too seriously. Quote. After listening to the golden servant's words, Chen Xiang felt a little calmer. He and Qingxing have a deep relationship. If they really want to fight, he is worried that it will affect his performance and prevent him from taking over Taichu Tiandi. Senior, what should I do next? Chen Xiang asked. You have now mastered the 5 elements destiny technique. Next, you need to go to the 5 elements domain to practice. That is where the root of the 5 elements destiny lies. You can improve your strength faster there and become familiar with the power of the 5 elements destiny, said the golden servant. Chen Xiang nodded. He was also very curious about the 5 planets domain now and wanted to go check it out. Remember, you have to be careful when you go to the 5 planets domain. Although it is the source of the 5 elements destiny, there are also many dangers. The golden servant reminded. The 5 elements heavenly root is inside the 6 paths divine mirror, and Chen Xiang can contact the golden servant through the 5 elements heavenly root. Under the guidance of the golden servant, after traveling through space for a period of time, Chen Xiang finally arrived at the 5 planets domain. This place was indeed unusual. He sensed the rich power of the 5 elements of destiny. He began to practice here, getting close to the power of the 5 elements of destiny every day, and his strength was steadily improving. In the process of training, Chen Xiang was also thinking about how to find Qingxing. He decided that when he became stronger, he would contact Qingxing through the power of 5 elements destiny, and then find a way to meet her. Day after day, year after year, Chen Xiang has been practicing in the 5 elements ancient star for a long time, and his strength has already made a qualitative leap. At this time, he has mastered the power of the 5 elements of destiny. His strength is so strong that he is already an extremely powerful existence in the Taichu world. On this day, Chen Xiang suddenly felt a familiar aura. That's Qingxing's breath. Is she here? How did she know I was here? He immediately stopped practicing and used the power of the 5 elements of destiny to activate his spiritual consciousness and get in touch with Qingxing. Qingxing, is that you? Chen Xiang called in his heart. Brother Shen, I finally sensed you. Where are you now? Qingxing's voice sounded in Shen Zhang's heart, full of excitement and joy. Chen Xiang told Qingxing his location, and then quietly waited for her arrival. After a while, a ray of starlight pierced the sky, and a clear star appeared in front of Shen Xiang. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5442, Shenyang 5 Elements. Qingxing still looked so beautiful, but there was a hint of exhaustion in her eyes. Qingxing, Chen Xiang shouted excitedly, and the two hugged each other tightly. Brother Shen, I finally found you. Qingxing snuggled into Shen Zhang's arms and said softly, I've always missed you. Me too. Chen Xiang stroked Qingxing's long hair and said softly, what should we do now? Do we really want to have a fight? Qingxing shook his head and said, no, we have discussed it with the servants of Shenyang's destiny. As long as you show enough strength, we don't have to fight. Chen Xiang nodded. He really didn't want to fight Qingxing. The two hugged each other and talked about their experiences after separation. After chatting for a while, Qingxing's expression suddenly changed and said, Brother Shen, there is a powerful aura approaching, it is the servant of Shenyan. Chen Zhang's face became serious. They did not expect that the servant of Shenyan would appear at this time. It seems that a battle is inevitable. Qingxing, don't worry, I have mastered the power of the 5 elements of destiny and can fight. Chen Zhang's eyes flashed with determination. Qingxing nodded. She believed Chen Xiang, this person is not the strongest Shenyan life servant. He just became a life servant, so he is not particularly strong. The two of them clasped their hands and faced the arrival of the servant of Shenyan. The servant of Shenyan appeared in front of them, a cold man in black robes. He sneered and said, you are indeed together. Very good, today I will let you see the power of Shenyan's destiny. After saying that, he moved and attacked Chen Xiang and Qingxing. His attacks contain the powerful power of Shenyan's destiny, which makes people's hearts palpitate. However, Chen Xiang and Qingxing did not back down. They held hands, and the power of the 5 elements of destiny and the power of Shenyang's destiny blended together, turning into a powerful force to face the attack of the servant of Shenyan's destiny. The attack of the servants of Shenyan was like a craze in the night, with endless coldness and violence, coming overwhelmingly. His face was looming under the black robe, and his eyes were shining with a cold light, as if everything was under his control. Chen Shang and Qingxing stood side by side, their faces full of firmness and determination. They knew that this battle would determine their fate and also affect the direction of the entire Taichu world. When the attack of the servant of Shenyan approached, Chen Shang and Qingxing took action at the same time. Their palms faced each other, and the power of the 5 elements of destiny and the power of Shenyang's destiny converged between them, forming a powerful energy vortex. The light in the vortex was colorful, illuminating the entire dark void. Powerful power surged out from it, like a beam of light, rushing straight towards the attack of Shenyan's servant. The two forces collided in the air and erupted into a dazzling light. For a moment, the entire space was enveloped by this powerful force, as if it was being torn apart. Chen Shang and Qingxing frowned, with painful looks on their faces. They tried their best to block the attack of the servants of Shenyan. However, the power of the servants of Shenyan was so powerful that they felt powerless. Finally, the moment the two forces collided in the air, a deafening loud noise broke out. The powerful force spread out in all directions, tearing apart the surrounding space. Chen Shang and Qingxing were knocked backwards by this powerful force and fell heavily. Their bodies were scarred and exhausted. However, they did not. It means giving up. They struggled to stand up and once again stood in front of the servant of Shenyan. The servant of Shenyan was suspended in the air, looking at Chen Shang and Qingxing, who fell on the ground, with a cruel smile on his face. Ha ha ha. Do you think you can defeat me like this? You are so naive. After saying that, he dodged and attacked Chen Shang and Qingxing again. This time his attack was more violent and ferocious, and the power of Shenyan's destiny was more majestic and vast. Chen Shang and Qingxing looked at each other and saw firmness and determination in each other's eyes. They knew this battle had to be won or they would lose everything. So they joined forces again, and the power of the 5 elements of destiny and the power of Shenyang's destiny blended together. It turned into a more powerful force and faced the attack of the servant of Shenyan. The two forces collided in the air, erupting into a burst of even more dazzling light. After the light dissipated, Chen Shang and Qingxing still stood on the same spot, their bodies shining with a faint light, as if to show how powerful the two destiny were after merging. The powerful attack of the servant of Shenyan was actually diffused. He was suspended in the air, his face under the black robe became distorted, and his eyes flashed with anger and unwillingness. He did not expect that Chen Shang and Qingxing could block his attack, and it seemed that they did not use all their strength. You actually blocked it. Shenyan's servant roared, his voice full of disbelief and anger. Qingxing, you Shenyang servant, you are just a little star servant. This one beside you, who is the bastard? This servant of Shenyan seems to have been following Qingxing before he came here. I am the master of Taichu heaven and earth. If you, Shenyan Tianming, are destined to know each other, then get out of here. Chen Shang said coldly, I am also the inheritor of the 5 elements destiny now. The servant of Shenyan sneered, 5 elements destiny. The 5 elements destiny, which is still on its last legs, actually has the mind to care about this place now. In the past, the 5 elements destiny did restrain our Shenyan destiny, but now I will let you know Shenyan's destiny is so powerful. After saying that, the servant of Shenyan flashed and attacked Chen Shang and Qingxing again. This time, his attack was more violent and ferocious, and the power of Shenyan's destiny was more majestic and vast. However, Chen Shang and Qingxing did not flinch. They held hands, and the power of the 5 elements of destiny and the power of Shenyang's destiny blended together, turning into a more powerful force to face the attack of the servant of Shenyan's destiny. The two forces collided in the air, erupting into a burst of even more dazzling light. This time, Chen Shang and Qingxing tried their best and finally blocked the attack of the servant of Shenyan completely and repelled him. The servant of Shenyan was pushed back hundreds of meters. He was suspended in the air, and his face under the black robe became even more distorted. His eyes were shining with hatred, as if he wanted to tear Chen Shang and Qingxing into pieces. The servant of Shenyan stabilized his figure, clenched his hands, and the black energy all over his body became more intense. His voice was filled with endless anger and resentment. You have successfully angered me, and now I want you to know what true despair is. Suddenly, the entire sky darkened, as if enveloped by an invisible force. Chen Xiang and Qingxing looked up and saw a huge crack appearing behind the servant of Shenyan, as if the space was being torn apart. From the cracks, waves of black energy surged out, exuding the aura of decay and death. Chen Xiang and Qingxing's expressions became solemn. They knew that this was the true power of the servant of Shenyan. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5443, Artifact of Destiny. Ha ha ha, the servant of Shenyan's destiny laughed wildly. Feel it, this is the true power of Shenyan's destiny. I want you to know that the 5 elements destiny and the Shenyang's destiny are both ***** in front of me. After saying that, he waved his hands, and the black energy wave surged toward Chen Xiang and Qingxing. Wherever it passes, the space is shattered inch by inch, as if everything will be swallowed up by this force. When Chen Xiang and Qingxing faced the surging black energy fluctuations, they did not show any fear on their faces. On the contrary, their eyes shone with strong confidence, as if they were ready to face all difficulties. Chen Xiang took a deep breath and began to form seals with his hands quickly. A powerful force of 5 elements of destiny surged out of his body and turned into a colorful protective shield, protecting him and Qingxing. Qingxing followed closely behind, clasping her hands together. A force of divine Yang's destiny surged out of her body, intertwined with Chen Zhang's 5 elements of destiny power, forming a more powerful protective force. The two forces collided in the air, erupting into a burst of dazzling light. Chen Xiang and Qingxing tried their best and finally blocked the attack of Shenyan's servant. The black energy wave surged wildly outside their protective shield, as if it was going to engulf them. However, Chen Xiang and Qingxing's protective shield showed no signs of breaking. On the contrary, as time passed, the black energy fluctuations gradually dissipated in the air, as if absorbed by their power. The servant of Shenyan was suspended in the air, looking at this scene with a look of disbelief on his face. He did not expect that Chen Xiang and Qingxing could actually block his full blow, and it seemed that they did not use all their strength. The servant of Shenyan was suspended in the air, and his face under the black robe gradually became ferocious. He could not accept the fact that he was blocked by Chen Xiang and Qingxing. Suddenly, a huge black weapon appeared in his hand. The blade exuded a cold and violent aura, as if even space could be easily split open by it. Ha ha ha, Shenyan's servant laughed wildly. You are indeed quite capable. You actually pushed me to this point. Now let me show you how powerful the destiny artifact is. Only qualified servants of destiny can obtain the destiny artifact. Is there any? It's impossible for you waste of life servants to get it. After saying that, he waved the black sword in his hand and launched a fierce attack on Chen Xiang and Qingxing. Every time the sword is swung, a huge wave of black energy will be generated, containing the power to destroy everything. Chen Xiang and Qingxing tried their best to resist, but their protective shields were retreating steadily under the attacks of Shenyan's servants, as if they might break at any time. Every time they resisted, their bodies would be severely injured, and their clothes would be dyed red with blood. However, they have no intention of giving up. They know that this battle is related to the fate of the entire Taichu world, and there must be no relaxation. So, they joined forces again, and the power of the 5 elements of destiny and the power of Shenyang's destiny blended together, turning into a more powerful force, trying to block the attack of the servant of Shenyan's destiny. The two forces collided in the air, erupting into a burst of even more dazzling light. However, this time, Chen Xiang and Qingxing failed to block the attack of Shenyan's servant. The black sword carried the power to destroy everything and slashed their protective shield. The protective shield instantly cracked under the attack of the black sword. Chen Xiang and Qingxing were knocked backwards by the powerful force and fell heavily into the air. Their bodies are scarred, tired, exhausted, without any fighting power. Brother Shen, that is a divine weapon of destiny. We don't have this kind of thing. It is difficult to win. Qingxing gritted his teeth and whispered, that is something refined by the servant of Shenyan, and it contains the power of the servant of Shenyan. I didn't expect that they would give such a magical weapon to a servant. Chen Xiang and Qingxing climbed up with difficulty. Looking at the divine artifact of destiny in the hands of the servant of Shenyan, they both felt a sense of powerlessness in their hearts. This is a force so powerful that it is almost irresistible. The servant of Shenyan sneered, the aura on the black sword became more ferocious, and he slashed at the two of them again without mercy. Chen Shang and Qingxing were helpless, their power had been suppressed to the limit. Suddenly, a warm light emerged around them, forming a solid protective wall. This wall of light exudes a peaceful atmosphere, and the attacks of Shenyan's servants cannot penetrate it. The two of them looked up and found Sister Xiaojing standing not far away, the Six Paths divine mirror in her hands exuding powerful protective power. Sister Xiaojing, why are you here? Chen Shang asked in surprise. Sister Xiaojing smiled and said, Brother, Sister Qingxing, I have been paying attention to your battles. When I saw you in trouble, I came out quickly. The servant of Shenyan looked at the wall of light, with a flash of disdain in his eyes. He waved the black sword, trying to break the wall of light. However, ripples appeared on the surface of the light wall, blocking his attack. Sister Xiaojing said, This is the power of the divine mirror of six paths, which is not easy to destroy. During this period of time, the divine mirror of six paths and I have become stronger by practicing together with my brother. Sister Qingxing, brother, please rest. Let me delay for a moment and quickly find a way to contact the golden servant of the five elements destiny. Having said that, the divine mirror of six paths. It emits a strong light and turns into a beam of light that shoots directly at the servant of Shenyan. The servant of Shenyan roared angrily and waved the black sword in his hand, trying to resist this powerful beam. However, he found that the beam was extremely stubborn and impossible to resist. The beam bypassed the divine servant and hit his body directly. In an instant, his whole body was enveloped by the beam, and he let out bursts of screams. What power is this? The servant of Shenyan felt that his body was being surrounded by a powerful and strange force, and his dark power was unable to resist this purifying power. The servant of Shenyan resisted this purifying force while screaming, and his body began to quickly become transparent, as if being stripped away by an invisible force. Sister Xiaojing looked at this scene with a hint of indifference in her eyes. This is the purification technique I learned in the Six Paths Divine Mirror. It is quite effective against the power of divine yin. However, this is just a means of delaying time. We still need to find the golden servant of the five elements destiny as soon as possible. Under the obstruction of Sister Xiaojing, the body of the servant of Shenyan gradually dissipated and turned into a black smoke. Although he roared angrily, he could not escape the shackles of the purifying power. Brother, Sister Qingxing, please contact the golden servant immediately. Sister Xiaojing motioned to Chen Shang and Qingxing. Chen Shang and Qingxing nodded, gathered their respective powers, and began to call the golden servant silently. At the same time, the smoke from Shenyan's servant gradually dissipated, and he regained his figure, but at this moment he looked a little embarrassed. The servant of Shenyan stared coldly at Sister Xiaojing. Little girl, do you think you can stop me like this? Sister Xiaojing smiled calmly, it's not to stop you, but to give us enough time to do more important things. Do you like this site? Donate here. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5444, Ancient Source. Although Sister Xiaojing's tone was relaxed, she revealed a firm determination. Under her gaze, the body of the servant of Shenyan continued to be affected by the power of purification. The black smoke gradually dissipated in the air, and he could no longer maintain his physical form. You bunch of ants! Shenyan's servant roared, his voice full of anger and helplessness. However, the influence of the purification power on him became more and more obvious, and his power was continuously weakened. Brother, Sister Qingxing, we have to hurry up. Sister Xiaojing reminded Chen Shang and Qingxing. She was well aware of the urgency of time. Chen Shang is trying very hard to contact the golden servant through the five elements heavenly roots. He doesn't know if he can finally contact him. The golden servant had always existed in a phantom state before, and Chen Shang also contacted the golden servant through the five elements heavenly roots, but later he suddenly lost contact. Within the light wall, the Six Paths Divine Mirror also continued to play its role in blocking the servant of Shenyan, imprisoning him in a specific space. Although the servant of Shenyan was resisting, facing the power of purification, he felt that his own dark power was being destroyed, which made him extremely anxious. Little girl, don't be complacent. The fate of Taichu heaven and earth has been determined, and you can't change it at all. Shenyan's servant said sternly. Sister Xiaojing smiled coldly, we are not here to change the fate of Taichu heaven and earth, but to protect it. Your misunderstanding will only lead you to the path of destruction. At this moment, the voice of the golden servant resounded in all directions, conveying with a calm momentum, I have arrived, what are your instructions? Chen Shang breathed a sigh of relief and said, Senior Golden Servant, we need to imprison the Divine Servant as soon as possible to prevent him from posing a threat to Taichu heaven and earth again. This guy has a divine artifact in his hand that we cannot defeat, and he can also absorbing a steady stream of divine yin power cannot consume his power at all. The virtual image of the Golden Servant suddenly appeared on the battlefield. It is formed by condensing the soul power of destiny, and its body shape is like an ancient god, exuding supreme pressure. The Golden Servant's eyes flashed with majesty as he looked directly at the Divine Servant. The servant of Shenyan's life had sharp eyes, and he swung the black sword in his hand, releasing violent black energy. The forces of the two collided in the air, causing ripples. The virtual image of the Golden Servant let out a low roar, and the power of the 5 elements of destiny surged, condensing into a huge palm print, and slapped the servant of Shenyan's destiny hard. The servant of Shenyan roared, and the dark power of Shenyan condensed into a black sword light, facing the virtual image of the Golden Servant. This is a real destiny showdown, where the glory of the 5 elements destiny and the darkness of the divine destiny collide fiercely in the sky. The atmosphere on the battlefield became more and more tense, as if the entire Taichu world was trembling for this duel. The virtual image of the Golden Servant is like a supreme god, exuding holy light. His palm print collided with the black knife of Shenyan's servant, causing strong sparks. The virtual image of the Golden Servant keeps changing its posture, sometimes turning into a giant dragon with the power of the 5 elements, and sometimes condensing into a colorful divine light, which resolves the offensive of the servant of Shenyan one by one. However, the servant of Shenyan became more and more crazier as he fought. He seemed to have infinite power of darkness. Every time he was repelled, he could quickly gather new attacks. The dark sword light swept across, trying to tear apart the virtual image of the Golden Servant. Senior Golden Servant, this divine servant is too powerful, Chen Shang said anxiously from the side. Although the virtual image of the Golden Servant seems to be unable to defeat the divine servant, you must know that this virtual image is the Golden Servant condensed in a distant space. Being able to fight back and forth with the Golden Servant is already considered very powerful. What's more, the environment they are in is also an environment of divine yin power, which is very unfavorable to the Golden Servant. The virtual image of the Golden Servant turned to look at Chen Shang and said, "What you have to do is to use the power of the 5 elements destiny and the destiny of the Divine Sun to merge into one to help me." When Chen Shang heard this, his heart moved. He immediately activated the 5 elements destiny and called for the Divine Yang destiny together with Qingxing. I don't know why, but suddenly a dazzling beam of light penetrated the Taichu world and injected into their bodies. This seems to be the power of Shenyang destiny and 5 elements destiny coming from distant space. The 5 elements of destiny and the divine destiny of Shenyang blend with each other to form a powerful force. The virtual image of the Golden Servant also felt this power. His figure shuddered, and the power of the 5 elements and the light of the divine sun merged in his body, becoming more brilliant. Chen Shang, Qingxing, let's join forces. Become one and defeat the servant of Shenyan. The voice of the Golden Servant sounded in their hearts. As a result, the powers of the 3 merged into one, and the virtual image of the Golden Servant launched an offensive again. In this battle, the servant of Shenyan gradually found himself at a disadvantage. He was no longer as violent as before, but began to feel irresistible pressure. The dark sword light gradually dimmed, and was shattered into pieces by the power of the 5 elements and Shenyang. In the end, the virtual image of the Golden Servant slapped the servant of Shenyan with a palm, and a dazzling light burst out, beating him to pieces and disappearing into the thick darkness of Shenyan power. Is this a victory? Chen Shang stood up with difficulty and looked at everything on the battlefield. The virtual image of the Golden Servant nodded. The servant of Shenyan has been temporarily defeated, but he is not dead and will reappear after a while. Condensation. We must find the source of the 5 elements as soon as possible and unblock it in order to truly defeat the servant of Shenyan. Quote. The virtual images of Chen Shang, Qingxing and Jin's servant stood on the battlefield and felt a moment of tranquility. However, this is not the end, but a new beginning. Sister Xiaojing stood aside, staring at the distant sky, with a hint of deep thought in her eyes. Although the servants of Shenyan have been temporarily defeated, the real threat has not yet been eliminated. Sister Xiaojing then said, the source of the 5 elements is located at the core of Taichu heaven and earth, which is full of the original power of the 5 elements. We must find it, unblock the source of the 5 elements, and end the chaos of Taichu heaven and earth as soon as possible. The virtual image of the Golden Servant nodded in agreement. Yes, the source of the 5 elements is our next goal. But before that, we must stabilize the Shenyan power environment to avoid being taken advantage of by the Shenyan life servant again. Sister Xiaojing waved the Six Paths divine mirror in her hand, releasing a powerful light, forming a light curtain, blocking the surrounding space. This light curtain isolates the divine power, allowing the virtual image of the golden servant to slowly condense and become more stable in a relatively safe space. Now that we are relatively safe, we can start looking for the source of the 5 elements. The virtual image of the golden servant said. Chen Shang, Qingqing and Sister Xiaojing immediately gathered their divine power and followed the virtual image of the golden servant towards the core of Taichu heaven and earth. They passed through the dense divine yin power, felt the power of the 5 elements and the guidance of the divine yang light, and gradually approached the location of the source of the 5 elements. In the core of Taichu heaven and earth, the source of the 5 elements is suspended there like a huge orb, exuding the original and powerful power of the 5 elements. You know, there are double seals on the source of the 5 elements, but it can still release such a strong power of the 5 elements, which shows how powerful the source of the 5 elements is. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5445, Risk of Unblocking. In the core of Taichu heaven and earth, the source of the 5 elements is like a huge pearl, suspended in that ancient and mysterious space. The power of Shenyan is particularly powerful here, like a black cloud, shrouding the source of the 5 elements. However, it was bound by double seals and the power of the 5 elements could not be fully unleashed. Facing this situation, Chen Shang and the golden servant's virtual image also knew that the next unblocking process would be very difficult. The first layer of seal is imposed by the power of Shenyan's destiny and needs to be lifted by the power of 5 elements' destiny. The two forces are in conflict with each other, which makes the unblocking process extremely complicated. We must jointly use the power of the 5 elements of destiny to break the seal of Shenyan. Chen Shang said in a deep voice. The virtual image of the golden servant nodded in agreement. The power of the 5 elements restrains Shenyan's destiny, but this also means that in the process of unblocking, we will face the counterattack of Shenyan's power. Be prepared, this will be a battle with great pressure. The two condensed the power of the 5 elements' destiny and began to penetrate into the source of the 5 elements. The power of Shenyan's counterattack was stronger than they expected, as if it was going to swallow everything up. The breath of darkness surged in the space, forming a swirling black hole, trying to swallow everything. The virtual images of Chen Shang and Jin Servant felt a heavy resistance, as if the entire Taichu world was oppressing them. The power of Shenyan swept over like a violent storm, trying to drown out their 5 elements of destiny power. At this moment, Sister Xiaojing waved the 6 Paths divine mirror in her hand. I saw the divine mirror emitting a bright light, like a bright moonlight, shining in the dark space. This light does not come from the 5 elements of destiny, but from the sacred power contained in the 6 Paths divine mirror. Use my power to resist Shenyan's counterattack. Sister Xiaojing's voice was full of determination. The light released by the 6 Paths divine mirror collided with the dark power of Shenyan, resulting in an unprecedented explosion. The core area was trembling in this powerful shock wave, as if it was about to collapse. The divine power and the divine light intertwined, forming a grand and fierce confrontation. The battle between darkness and light reached its peak at the core of Taichu heaven and earth, causing a series of chain energy bursts. We must work together. Although Sister Xiaojing is just a little girl, her voice is full of momentum. The three work closely together, and the power of the 5 elements, Shenyan destiny and the 6 Paths divine mirror are intertwined around the source of the 5 elements, forming a contest of power. The virtual images of Chen Shang and Jin Servant are working hard to maintain the process of unblocking, while Sister Xiaojing is constantly using the power of the magic mirror to stabilize the situation. Time seemed to have frozen, and every moment was filled with tension and pressure. The force of Shenyan kept trying to sabotage the process of unsealing, but the three of them worked closely together to resist the counterattack from Shenyan's destiny. Finally, after fierce collisions, the source of the 5 elements released a burst of bright light. The first layer of seal was completely lifted, and the power of the 5 elements surged like a tide, washing away the traces of Shenyan. The first layer of seal has been lifted. Chen Shang felt tired, but his heart was filled with joy. The virtual image of the golden servant also breathed a sigh of relief. However, our task is not completed yet, and the second layer of seal must be lifted next. The second level of seal is more complex and involves deeper power. They know that the challenges ahead are still huge, but now, at least they have taken the first step. The fate of Taichu heaven and earth once again rests on their shoulders. Leave the second layer of seal to me. That is the seal of Shenyang's destiny. Only I can unseal it. You should have a good rest first. Qingxing had been saying just now. Watching quietly from the side, now it was finally her turn to take action. Qingxing slowly walked to the source of the 5 elements. She stared at the orb that exuded powerful power, and her heart was filled with determination. The seal on the second level of the source of 5 elements is the handiwork of Shenyang destiny, and it requires the power of Shenyang destiny to lift it. She took a breath, and the divine power circulated throughout her body, and the radiance of Shenyang's destiny bloomed around her. However, when she tried to touch the source of the 5 elements, a strong backlash almost made her unable to stand. The power of this seal is really powerful. Cold sweat broke out on Qingxing's forehead, but she gritted her teeth and persisted, taking a deep breath and injecting the power of Shenyang into the source of the 5 elements. For a moment, the entire space seemed to tremble. A ripple formed above the source of the 5 elements, emitting divine light. The power of the divine yang in Qingxing's body continued to flow, resisting the seal. No, there is also a lot of divine power infiltrating inside the seal. The golden servant saw this and shouted hurriedly. The power of Shenyang began to counterattack, and it became more and more fierce. Dark shadows gathered around Qingxing, forming a huge vortex, trying to swallow her up. Qingxing, be careful, Chen Shang shouted anxiously, but due to the previous battle, they were already very tired and unable to provide more assistance. The 6 Paths divine mirror exudes brilliance in the hands of Sister Xiaojing. She tries to use the power of the divine mirror to weaken Shenyang's backlash, but her power is insignificant in the face of such a powerful Shenyang destiny. Qingxing gritted her teeth firmly, unwavering, her body shone with the dazzling light of the divine sun, in sharp contrast to the darkness of the divine shade. However, her Shenyang destiny power was constantly being depleted. Suddenly, the dark power of Shenyang burst out, forming a black lightning and heading straight for the sunny star. When Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing were helpless, a golden figure suddenly appeared and blocked Qingxing's path. It was the virtual image of the golden servant. He stepped forward without hesitation and collided with the black lightning of Shenyang. Golden light and dark power collided fiercely in midair, making a deafening roar. Qingxing took this opportunity and worked hard to instill the power of Shenyang into the source of the 5 elements. However, this process was extremely difficult for her, and every injection seemed to drain her life force. Finally, in repeated confrontations, Qingxing felt that the seal of the source of the 5 elements was loosened. She knew that as long as she persisted for a while, she would be able to lift this second layer of seal. However, her body also became weak. After injecting the power of Shenyang for the last time, she suddenly swayed, like a withered flower, slowly fell down, and lost consciousness. Qingxing. Chen Shang rushed forward anxiously and picked up Qingxing's body. He saw that her face was pale and her breathing was weak. The virtual image of the golden servant also dissipated. He silently stared at Qingxing, seeming to be mourning for her. Next, they will face not only the threat of Shenyang's servants, but also the uncertainty of Qingxing's fate. Senior Golden Servant, what's wrong with her? Chen Shang called out to Golden Servant through the 5 elements heavenly route. The source of the 5 elements is about to be unsealed, and there is only one last breath left to complete it. The voice of the Golden Servant came. Miss Qingxing has exhausted the power of Shenyang's destiny in her body. Fortunately, her powerful soul has not dissipated, and she is also protected by the power of the 5 elements of destiny, but I don't know when her messy soul will be reunited. Chen Shang could only put Qingxing into the divine mirror of 6 paths and leave it to Sister Xiaojing to take care of. He looked at the source of the 5 elements, and there was only one last step left, but the divine yin power around him was billowing like a ferocious demon, as if it would charge towards him fiercely at any time. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5446, The Power of the Divine Sun. During the process of Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing unlocking the source of the 5 elements, the surrounding divine yin power turned into various obstructing forces, forming a fight. Above the source of the 5 elements, the black mist of Shenyang is like a substance, constantly surging, forming a phantom-like barrier, tightly covering the source of the 5 elements. This black mist was mixed with roaring sounds, as if the servants of the gods were roaring in the distance. Chen Zhang's whole body was filled with divine power. He used the 5 elements heavenly roots to try to penetrate this layer of black mist, but the black mist was extremely stubborn and seemed to be resisted by endless divine yin power. Sister Xiaojing holds the Six Paths Divine Mirror, and the light on the mirror flashes. She tries to use the power of the mirror to illuminate the black fog and find the weak points in it. However, Shenyan's power is extremely cunning and always changes rapidly when she gets close, making her elusive. Suddenly, black lights and shadows surged out of the black mist. They turned into strange monsters and attacked Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing. Some of these monsters are dark shadows, and some are twisted ghosts. They exude a strange and depressing atmosphere. They are not physical entities, but they possess extremely strong divine power. People can tell at a glance that they are not entities to be trifled with. Chen Shang struggled to activate the five elements' heavenly roots and used the power of the five elements to resist the invasion of these black shadows, while Sister Xiaojing used the light of the Six Paths Divine Mirror to try to purify these ghostly divine powers. However, this battle is very fierce, and they need to concentrate on being prepared for the counterattack of Shenyan's power at all times. The Shenyan command in the black mist let out a low and cold roar, as if threatening their lives. In the process of fighting, they gradually felt the cunning of Shenyan. The power of Shenyan constantly changes form, sometimes it is a charming illusion, sometimes it is a boundless dark vortex, making the process of unsealing extremely difficult. Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing relied closely on each other and jointly resisted Shenyan's attack. Their bodies are covered with scars, but they persist. Don't give up. We cannot fail. Chen Shang gritted his teeth and stared at the black mist above the source of the five elements, his eyes shining with determination. Hold on, the servant of Shenyan was beaten back before and won't be able to come here in a short time. Now he can only control the nearby Shenyan power to stop us. Sister Xiaojing nodded, with determination in her eyes. If you miss this time, if the servant of Shenyan recovers, we won't have any chance. The black power of Shenyan came towards me like a violent storm again. The source of the five elements seems to be shrouded in a mysterious darkness, making the task of unblocking it extremely difficult. Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing stood tightly around the source of the five elements, clasping their hands to circulate the power of the five elements' heavenly root and the Six Paths Divine Mirror. They can feel the resistance of Shenyan's order, like a beast that has been sleeping for a long time, waking up. A black vortex surged inside the source of the five elements, forming a powerful suction force that tried to swallow up the unsealed power. This is the backlash of the divine power, we must hold on. Chen Shang shouted loudly. Sister Xiaojing waved the Six Paths Divine Mirror in her hand, emitting a dazzling light, trying to resist this dark counterattack with divine power. However, the black vortex became more and more powerful, like an invisible hand, constantly pulling on their strength. In the dark vortex, various illusions suddenly appeared, as if they were illusions ordered by Shenyan. The horrifying images and roaring sounds plunged the unblocker into chaos. This is Shenyan's disturbance, don't be fooled by the illusion. Sister Xiaojing's voice sounded in her heart. The two of them supported each other tightly and resisted Shenyan's counterattack. This is not only a duel of strength, but also a battle of soul and will. Just when they felt unable to resist, a golden light suddenly flashed, and the virtual image of the golden servant appeared again. His golden figure is like a guardian god, blocking the source of the five elements. Chen Shang, Sister Xiaojing, hold on. I will use my destiny soul power to help you. The voice of the golden servant came. I will need to rest for a long time after this time to recover my destiny soul power. Everyone must work hard, try your best, otherwise all your efforts will be wasted. The virtual image of the golden servant began to release a powerful golden light, forming a strong confrontation with the darkness of Shenyan. This gave Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing a chance to breathe. Quick, we have to take advantage of the situation to inject the five elements' heavenly root into the source of the five elements. Chen Shang shouted loudly. The two of them concentrated their energy again, activated the five elements' heavenly roots, and used all their strength to inject the heavenly roots into the source of the five elements. The virtual image of the golden servant also provided full support, forming an indestructible barrier of light. Shenyan's resistance became more violent, and the dark aura almost overwhelmed them. We can't go on like this. Sister Xiaojing's forehead was beaded with beads of sweat. At the critical moment, a harsh sound resounded from all directions. Cracks opened in the sky, and a powerful force of destiny poured into the source of the five elements like a rushing river. This is... Qingxing is awake, Chen Shang shouted in surprise. Qingxing's body exudes the brilliance of the divine sun, and her divine consciousness passes through the Six Paths Divine Mirror and condenses in the sky above the source of the five elements. Her voice rang in their hearts, "Don't be afraid, I'm here to help you." Qingxing inside the Six Paths Divine Mirror suddenly burst out with such powerful power that shocked both Chen Shang and Xiao Jing's sister. Shocked, Qingxing's consciousness merged into the source of the five elements, and her consciousness rose like a scorching sun, illuminating the core of darkness. Inside the source of the five elements, the space that was originally eroded by the divine power began to ripple with golden colors. Sister Qingxing's divine power of destiny is really too powerful. Sister Xiaojing exclaimed, "Why is this happening? Didn't she fall into a coma before due to excessive consumption?" Qingxing's sudden power also made Chen Shang feel confused. At this time, a powerful and warm force came, and the two of them worked together to inject the five elements Tiangan into the source of the five elements, while Qingxing's Shenyang power was also removing the invasion of Shenyan. The dark power within the source of the five elements began to disintegrate, like a rock washed away by the tide, gradually revealing its original glory. Shenyan's resistance became more and more fierce, and the black vortex formed a terrifying vortex, trying to resist their power. Light and darkness are like two irreconcilable forces, violently colliding at this moment. Qingxing's consciousness gradually melted into the source of the five elements, and her voice echoed in the hearts of Shen Shang and Sister Xiaojing, "Hold on, I will help you until the last moment." As her voice faded away, the power within the source of five elements became stronger. Dark resistance seemed to reach its peak, threatening to destroy their efforts. "We can't lose to Shenyan." Chen Shang raised his arms and shouted. He felt that Qingxing's divine power was transmitted to them at the most critical moment. Sister Xiaojing also showed no sign of weakness. She used the power of the Six Paths Divine Mirror to repel the dark power of Shenyan inch by inch. Suddenly, the source of the five elements emitted a bright light, like the rebirth of heaven and earth in the beginning. The dark power of Shenyan collapsed at the last moment, like a dark night defeated by a ray of sunshine. World-Defying Dan God Chapter 5447, Five Elements Show Their Power. Qingxing's Shenyang destiny power is like a bright beam of light, re-injecting the source of the five elements, injecting huge power into the process of unsealing. This divine power shines in her body, making her the key to unlocking the source of the five elements. However, when Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing looked at Qingxing in the magic mirror, they found that her body began to become transparent, like crystal. Qingxing's consciousness gradually faded away, and her voice echoed in their hearts, "I will leave temporarily and go to Shenyang Destiny Realm to recuperate. You must persist, the source of the five elements will become your source of strength." Sister Qingxing, Sister Xiaojing's voice was choked with sobs. "She has paid a lot for us. Thank you for your hard work. She has been guarding the Taichu world all these years." Chen Shang felt melancholy and very sad. As Qingxing's soul left, the power within the source of the five elements became even more surging. Golden ripples rippled in the space, and the dark power of Shenyan gradually dissipated under the purification of this light of Shenyang. At the moment when the unsealing was about to be completed, the source of the five elements emitted powerful fluctuations like an awakening giant beast. At this time, the servant of Shenyan finally noticed the abnormal movement of the source of the five elements, and appeared viciously in the core of Taichu heaven and earth. "You dare to touch the source of the five elements, you are really seeking death." The voice of the servant of Shenyan was like the roar of hell. Facing this huge shadow of Shenyan, Chen Shang said coldly, "We will never let you destroy it." The servants of Shenyan launched an offensive, and the power of darkness collided fiercely with Chen Zhang's power of using the five elements' heavenly roots. The entire Taichu world seems to be involved in a mysterious and fierce battle, and the battle between light and darkness creates shocking scenes. The dark power released by the servants of Shenyan was like a violent storm, distorting the space of Taichu heaven and earth. Chen Shang felt tremendous pressure, but he remained unwavering as the power of the source of the five elements surged within his body. "Brother, be careful," Sister Xiaojing reminded anxiously. The servant of Shenyan turned into a black wind and struck towards Chen Shang. Greater than he activated the source of the five elements, bursting out a golden light, which violently collided with the power of darkness. At this moment, the space of Taichu heaven and earth seemed to be torn apart by these two huge forces. The power of this divine servant is really terrifying. Chen Shang felt a sense of oppression, but he knew that they could not retreat, otherwise the source of the five elements would be in danger again. The phantom of the servant of Shenyan changes constantly, turning into countless shadows, and at the same time releases endless power of darkness. "How can you stop me?" The voice of the servant of Shenyan was full of ridicule. He was trying to distract Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing in order to further erode the source of the 5 elements. Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing cooperated tacitly. One side blocked the attack of the servants of Shenyan, and the other side injected more 5 elements heavenly roots into the source of the 5 elements to consolidate the results of unblocking. However, the power of Shenyan's servants made them feel extremely depressed, as if the entire Taichu world was trembling. Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing can only guard the source of the 5 elements now. Fortunately, the power within the source of the 5 elements is not weak and can resist Shenyan to a certain extent. The dark power of Shenyan's servants was like a raging ocean wave, attacking Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing one after another. Their figures flickered in the darkness, risking their lives to resist the invasion of every black shadow. Chen Shang felt that the power of the 5 elements' heavenly roots was constantly being consumed, but he did not flinch. Every time the power of darkness struck, he faced it without fear, carrying the light of the 5 elements to block the front of the source of the 5 elements. Careful! Sister Xiao Jing's 6 paths divine mirror exudes bright light, resisting the invasion of darkness, and her eyes are full of determination. The wailing sounds of Shenyan filled the Taichu world, as if darkness was calling their souls. Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing resisted this dark force and moved forward step by step. With the help of the power of the 5 elements, they withstood round after round of attacks from the servants of Shenyan. The battle has entered a fierce stage, and the entire Taichu world was shaken by this powerful force. The dark power released by the servants of Shenyan is getting stronger and stronger, as if it is going to swallow up the entire source of the 5 elements. Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing tried their best, their figures quickly shuttled through the darkness, and every resistance made them feel extremely difficult. However, they did not give up. They joined forces to exert the power of the 5 elements source to the extreme, trying to kill the servants of Shenyan in one fell swoop. Chen Shang formed a seal with his hands, and a powerful force of 5 elements of destiny surged out from his body, turning into a colorful energy wave and rushing toward the servant of Shenyan. This power seems to have endless power, as if it can drive away all darkness. The expression of the servant of Shenyan changed. He waved the black sword in his hand and faced Chen Zhang's attack. The two forces collided in the air, erupting into a burst of dazzling light. Sister Xiao Jing also followed closely behind. Her 6 paths divine mirror emitted bright light, and a powerful force of divine Yang's destiny surged out from the mirror, intertwined with Chen Zhang's attack, forming an even more powerful force, the power of. This power seemed to have endless destructive power, instantly resisting the attack of the servant of Shenyan and knocking him back for a distance. The servant of Shenyan was also under the impact of this force, and cracks appeared in his body as if he might collapse at any time. Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing did not stop. They once again joined forces to launch a fierce attack on the servant of Shenyan. This time their attacks were more fierce and decisive, as if they wanted to completely drive away all the darkness. The servants of Shenyan were retreating steadily under their attacks, and his figure fly through the air quickly trying to dodge their attacks. However, Chen Shang and Xiao Jing's sister's attacks seemed to have endless tracking capabilities, leaving him nowhere to hide. The power of the source of the 5 elements is getting stronger and stronger. Chen Shang was surprised in his heart. The source of the 5 elements was previously eroded by the power of Shen Yin, but now it is recovering on its own after being unblocked. Sister Xiao Jing was also pleasantly surprised. The 5 elements can coexist with each other, and the self-recovery power is really powerful. The source of the 5 elements erupted into colorful lights in the darkness and turned into a huge ball, like a fireball flashing with colorful rays of light. The power of the attack became stronger and stronger, and the servant of Shenyan felt very strenuous. He wanted to escape, but found that the surrounding space had been sealed by the source of the 5 elements. Secure him. Sister Xiao Jing controlled the 6 paths divine mirror, absorbing a large amount of the power of the 5 elements of destiny, and then burst out instantly, shining on the servant of Shenyan destiny. Brother, do it quickly. Chen Shang frantically ran the 5 elements destiny technique, stimulating the source of the 5 elements to explode with power. The body of the servant of Shenyan was suspended in the air, his face under the black robe was twisted, and his eyes were flashing with resentment and unwillingness. He clenched the black sword in his hand, trying to make a last-ditch effort. The power of the 5 elements that Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing jointly released has surrounded him. This power seemed to have endless power, making him feel extremely frightened. The servant of Shenyan waved the black sword in his hand and launched the final charge against this force. His figure shuttled rapidly through the air, releasing powerful dark power every time he swung his sword, trying to defeat the source of the 5 elements. The power of the 5 elements of destiny seems to have endless resilience. No matter how violent the attack of the servant of Shenyan is, it cannot be defeated. On the contrary, the power of the 5 elements was constantly consuming the will and strength of the servant of Shenyan, causing him to gradually fall into a desperate situation. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5448, Servant Soul Power. Under the constant consumption of the power of the source of the 5 elements, the will of the servant of Shenyan completely collapsed. He let out a desperate roar, brandished the black sword in his hand, and launched a final decisive battle against Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing. However, his attack seemed to have lost all power and was easily resisted by the power of the source of the 5 elements. Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing also took the opportunity to launch the final attack. Chen Shang formed a seal with his hands, and a powerful force of 5 elements of destiny surged out from his body, turning into a colorful energy wave and rushing toward the servant of Shenyan. This power seemed to have endless destructive power, instantly defeating the attack of Shenyan's servant and completely tearing his black robe to pieces. Sister Xiaojing's divine mirror of 6 paths also emitted bright light, and a powerful force of divine Yang's destiny surged out from the mirror, intertwined with Chen Zhang's attack, forming an even more powerful force. This power seemed to have endless purifying power, and it instantly enveloped the body of the servant of Shenyan. The servant of Shenyan let out his final scream, and his body began to gradually collapse under the influence of this purifying power. Black aura kept pouring out of his body, as if it was going to swallow him completely. Finally, as the source of the 5 elements shook out a powerful wave of energy, the body and soul of the servant of Shenyan were directly killed. At this time, the black sword of the servant of Shenyan was trembling in the air, as if looking for a new master. Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing both stared at it warily. They knew that this sword contained the destiny soul power of the servant of God and Yin and should not be underestimated. Suddenly, the black sword erupted with a powerful wave of black energy, and the entire space seemed to be distorted by this force. Immediately afterwards, the black sword began to change. Its blade gradually grew, and the blade became sharper, flashing with a cold light. And the blade began to exude a rich black aura, as if it was coming from hell. The demonic power gushed out of it. This breath continued to spread, gradually forming a huge black vortex, sucking in the surrounding air. Both Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing felt suffocated, as if they were suppressed by this force. They resisted with all their strength, trying to disperse this force. However, the black vortex seemed to have endless suction, preventing them from moving. In the center of the whirlpool, a sword demon several feet tall slowly emerged. His whole body was made of black metal, exuding a strong cold aura. His eyes flashed with a cold red light, as if he could see through everything. He held the huge black sword tightly in his hand, and black energy fluctuations flowed on the blade. Ha ha ha, the sword demon laughed wildly. I finally woke up completely. Do you think that after defeating my master, you can easily subdue me? You are so naive. Now I will let you see the power of the destiny artifact. Quote. After saying that, he waved the black sword in his hand and launched a fierce attack on Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing. Every time the sword is swung, a huge wave of black energy will be generated, containing the power to destroy everything, and the surrounding space will collapse. Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing tried their best to resist. They used the power of the 5 elements of destiny to try to resist the sword demon's attack. However, the sword demon's attacks seemed to have endless destructive power. Every time they swung the sword, their protective shields vibrated violently and could break at any time. The sword demon's attack in every collision made Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing feel extremely strenuous. They also realized that this was not only the power of the black sword, but also the power of the gods. A trace of Yin servant's remaining destiny soul power. Although there was only a trace of it, it was so overwhelming that they were unable to fight back. This level of power is far beyond their imagination, and even if they master the source of the 5 elements, it will be difficult to compete with it. We can't continue like this. Chen Shang shouted, with a trace of despair in his voice. He knew that continuing to fight would only lead to death, so he had to find a way to escape from the battlefield and find other countermeasures. Sister Xiaojing nodded, gritted her teeth, and tried her best to resist another fierce attack. Her heart was filled with unwillingness and anger, but she also understood that the most important thing right now was to save her life. Chen Shang formed a seal with his hands, and the power of the source of the 5 elements began to gather rapidly. He did not intend to launch an attack, but to regroup this force and use it mainly for defense. The power of the source of the 5 elements gradually converged, and finally turned into a colorful shield, wrapping them up. At the same time, Sister Xiaojing also put away the cracked 6 paths divine mirror. The divine mirror that had erupted with colorless light just now gradually dimmed and turned into a simple bronze mirror. She breathed a tired breath and followed closely behind Chen Shang. Want to escape? It's not that easy, Sword Demon sneered, his voice seemed to come from hell, making people feel extremely cold. He waved the black sword in his hand and attacked Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing again. Under the fierce attack of the Sword Demon, Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing were in a desperate situation. It was impossible to escape. The surrounding space was blocked by the Sword Demon. Just when they felt they could no longer hold on any longer, a golden shadow suddenly appeared in front of them. The Sword Demon was also enveloped by the golden tornado at this time, and was deeply trapped in it. In a short period of time. Can't break free. This phantom exudes a faint light, giving people a mysterious and solemn feeling. Senior Golden Servant, Chen Shang shouted in surprise. He recognized the identity of this phantom. When the Golden Servant left before, Chen Shang thought he was going to recuperate. After all, the Golden Servant had put in a lot of effort before, and all he had consumed was his destiny soul power. Unexpectedly, at this juncture, the Golden Servant could actually come out to save him, which moved Chen Shang very much. The shadow of the Golden Servant nodded slightly, and his voice seemed to come from a distant place. Chen Shang, you are the only seedling of the 5 elements destiny in Taichu heaven and earth. I cannot let you die here. I will give you the soul of a destiny artifact. It contains the power of the 5 elements servant. You must make good use of it to protect the source of the 5 elements. After speaking, the shadow of the Golden Servant stretched out his palm, holding a golden bead in his palm. This bead exudes a faint light and seems to have endless power. Chen Shang took the golden bead, and he could feel the powerful power contained in it. He also knew now that the Golden Servant had not heard from him before, so he should have gone to help him obtain the soul of this destiny artifact. This is also the last resort used to fight against the Sword Demon. Chen Shang did not hesitate to integrate the golden beads into his Azure Dragon Demon slaying knife. The blade trembled slightly as if cheering, and then a powerful force surged out of the blade, making the surrounding air buzz. Let me stop that guy, the Golden Servant said, you must seize the opportunity. In order to help you, I paid a lot of money. I hope you can carry forward the 5 elements destiny in Taichu heaven. Senior Golden Servant, do you still have it? I also want my 6 paths divine mirror. Sister Xiaojing saw the Qinglong demon slaying knife making a lot of movement, and it was getting stronger quickly. Her beautiful eyes were suddenly very bright, and she was very eager. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5449, 7th Destiny. The shadow of the Golden Servant looked at Sister Xiaojing and frowned slightly, as if thinking. After a moment, he said, I no longer have the extra power to give you a complete weapon soul, but I can help you repair your 6 paths divine mirror. After saying that, he stretched out his palm and gently placed it on Sister Xiaojing's 6 paths divine mirror. A golden light surged out from his palm and gradually covered the entire mirror. Sister Xiaojing felt this power, and her face showed a hint of surprise and joy. She could see that the 6 paths divine mirror gradually regained its light under the influence of this power, and the cracks were slowly healing. The shadow of the Golden Servant consumed a lot of power, and his figure gradually became blurred. But he still used his last bit of strength and said to Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing, you are my last hope. You must protect the source of the 5 elements. Remember, only by uniting can we overcome all difficulties. After saying that, the shadow of the Golden Servant completely disappeared in the air, leaving only Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing looking at each other. At this time, the Sword Demon also broke free from the Golden Tornado. He saw that the shadow of the Golden Servant had dissipated, and a cruel smile appeared on his face. He waved the black sword in his hand and attacked Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing again. Chen Shang tightly held the Azure Dragon Demon slaying knife in his hand, and he could feel that the soul of the weapon had completely merged with the blade. The light emitted from the blade was even stronger, as if it was going to illuminate the entire space. At the same time, the blade has also undergone tremendous changes. The originally cyan blade gradually turned into golden yellow, as if it were made of pure gold. The patterns on the blade have also become more complex, as if they contain endless mysteries. Chen Shang could feel this powerful force, as if even the heaven and earth were shaking. This is the power of the five elements servant, and it is Chen Zhang's last weapon against the sword demon. The sword demon waved the black sword in his hand and launched a fierce attack on Chen Shang. Every swing of the sword will produce a huge wave of black energy, containing the power to destroy everything. However, Chen Shang didn't seem to feel this power. His figure kept flickering under the attack of the sword demon, and he was able to dodge skillfully every time. Ha ha ha, Chen Shang laughed, your attacks have no effect on me. Now let me experience your true strength. After saying that, he waved the Azure Dragon Demon Slaying Sword in his hand and launched a fierce counterattack against the sword demon. Every time the sword is swung, a huge golden sword energy will be produced, which will collide with the black sword energy of the sword demon in the air, erupting with dazzling light and deafening loud noise. This is the battle between the five elements Destiny Weapon Soul and the Shenyan Destiny Weapon Soul. Two powerful forces kept colliding, intertwining, and entangling in the air as if they were going to tear the entire space apart. The battle between Chen Shang and the sword demon became more and more intense, and every time he swung the sword, it seemed as if he was going to cut open the space. Chen Zhang's Azure Dragon Demon Slaying Knife drew golden trails in the air, constantly colliding with the black sword energy of the sword demon, erupting into dazzling sparks. Suddenly, a trace of determination flashed in Chen Zhang's eyes. He took a deep breath, clenched the Azure Dragon Demon Slaying Knife with both hands, and his aura suddenly increased. Immediately afterwards, he shouted, "Five Elements Green Dragon Explosion." I saw the Azure Dragon Demon Slaying Knife in Chen Zhang's hand suddenly glowing with even brighter golden light, as if a giant golden dragon soared out of the blade. This giant dragon circled and danced in the air, letting out a thunderous dragon roar. Dragon Institute. Wherever it passed, the space seemed to tremble, and small space cracks spread in the air. In front of this powerful force, the black sword energy of the sword demon seemed to be like paper, and was instantly destroyed by the giant dragon. The sword demon's expression changed drastically. He finally realized the terrifying nature of Chen Zhang's Azure Dragon Demon Slaying Knife. He clenched the black sword with both hands, and his momentum rose to the extreme, launching a final decisive battle against Chen Shang. Two powerful forces collided again in the air, as if they were going to tear the entire space apart. The figures of Chen Shang and Sword Demon moved quickly in the air, and every collision made them feel extremely strenuous. But Chen Shang seemed to have no intention of giving up. He gritted his teeth and tried his best to resist the Sword Demon's attack. And the giant golden dragon also flew in the air and roared loudly, as if to cheer for its master. Chen Shang suddenly caught the sword demon's flaw, and then used the power of the five elements of destiny to urge the Azure Dragon Demon Slaying Sword in his hand to shine even more dazzlingly. The golden dragon was swung out with a sword, drawing a beautiful arc in the air and hitting the sword demon accurately. Ah! The sword demon let out a scream and his figure trembled in the air, as if he was suffering endless pain. And the golden dragon suddenly exploded at this time, covering the entire space in a golden light. Five Elements Destiny, you are already in decline, and you still want to fight for territory. The sword demon's body was shattered, but it quickly reassembled, and a cold voice came out. This seems to be the voice of the servant of God. At this time, Chen Zhang's Azure Dragon Demon Slaying Sword also heard a voice saying, "This place does not belong to any destiny. I mean, yes, this will be the birthplace of the seventh destiny, and the balance of the six destinies will be broken." Quote, HMPH, how can such a broken place give birth to a new destiny? You five elements destiny are really confused. You actually pin your hope of restoring the five elements destiny on such illusory illusions. It's so ridiculous. Then came the loud laughter of the servant of God and Yin. You are defeated. The voice of the five elements servant came from the Azure Dragon Demon Slaying Sword, saying, according to the rules, you Shenyan Tianming should leave this Taichu world. Rules. You five elements destiny are not qualified to talk to me about rules now. The so-called rules require strength to defend. Do you have that strength? The voice of the servant of Shenyan was full of ridicule, and he continued to laugh and said, we won't leave, let's see what you can do. What's the birthplace of the seventh destiny, bah? Then get out. As soon as the voice of the five elements servant fell, the Azure Dragon Demon Slaying Knife flashed with multicolored light, and a multicolored mad dragon roared out from the blade, rushing towards the gathering black energy of Shenyan in front of it, literally covering it, burning with fierceness, colorful flames. Chen Shang was also shocked when he heard the conversation just now. The beginning of heaven and earth is the birthplace of the seventh destiny. Senior servant, are you still there? Chen Shang asked hurriedly. I'm still here, but I'll be leaving soon. It's a pity that I should have given you a weapon soul, but in order to destroy a ray of destiny soul power of the servant of Shenyan, I had to burn the weapon soul, so I'm very sorry. The voice of the five elements servant came. The weapon soul given to Chen Shang by the golden servant was also refined with the destiny soul power of the five elements servant. Now that it is burned, it is gone. For Chen Shang, it was indeed a pity. After all, the soul of the weapon was still very strong. When the Azure Dragon Demon Slaying Sword became the divine weapon of destiny, Chen Shang could clearly feel the powerful power of destiny. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5450, The Five Elements Are Coming. Chen Shang felt mixed emotions in his heart. He held the Azure Dragon Demon Slaying Knife tightly and said, Senior Servant, thank you. You have made a huge sacrifice for the five elements destiny and Taichu heaven and earth. I, Chen Shang, will never forget this kindness. The voice of the five elements servant sighed softly and said, No need to thank you, this is my mission. Chen Shang, you and Sister Xiaojing must remember that the future of the five elements destiny rests on you. You must practice hard and improve yourself. With the strength, protect the source of the five elements and protect the Taichu heaven and earth. Perhaps the seventh destiny can really be born in the Taichu heaven and earth. Although the Taichu heaven and earth has the source of the five elements, it does not mean that it will become the place of the five elements destiny. Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing looked at each other, their eyes full of surprise and confusion. They knew nothing about the seventh destiny, so they didn't ask any more questions. They only know that they shoulder huge responsibilities, and they are all willing to work hard for the five elements destiny and Taichu heaven and earth. At this time, the Shenyan black energy enveloped by the five-colored mad dragon was constantly struggling, letting out bursts of shrill screams. The voice of the servant of Shenyan was full of anger and fear, You five elements destiny are so cruel. For the sake of an illusory fantasy, you actually burned the soul of the weapon to deal with me. You will pay the price. The voice of the five elements servant was cold, Master Shenyan, you don't need to be angry. The fight between us is no longer a day or two. Yu Shenyan Tianming has repeatedly violated the territory of the five elements Tianming and has violated the rules. According to the rules, we should leave this Taichu world. But you are still stubborn, so you can't blame us. The voice of the servant of Shenyan gradually weakened, as if he was being swallowed by the flames of the colorful dragon. Finally, the Shenyan black energy completely dissipated in the air, leaving only a faint wisp of black smoke. The voice of the five elements servant also disappeared in the air, leaving only Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing looking at each other. They knew the battle was over. The servant of the five elements successfully defeated a wisp of destiny soul from the servant of Shenyan. Power has protected the safety of Taichu heaven and earth and the source of the five elements. Let's go back. I don't know what's going on in the land of stars now. Chen Shang looked into the distance. In the endless starry sky, there was dark and intense divine power everywhere, but he could sense the location of the ancient star tree. The ancient Xingwei tree was very far away from him, but he seemed to have a heart-to-heart connection with it, as if he could feel its heartbeat. Is Xingwei Gumu okay? Sister Xiaojing was a little worried. It's okay. Chen Shang nodded and said, It's just that I'm worried that the Shenyan destiny forces will attack the land of stars next. Because they have obtained the source of the five elements, if they can resurrect the five elements sacred tree next, then the divine yin power of the entire Taichu world will be dispelled. Let's go back and take a look. Sister Xiaojing returned to the divine mirror of six paths, and then Chen Shang passed through the divine mirror of six paths and began to travel through space. Chen Shang traveled through the void for a while and finally returned to the land of stars. He discovered that although many years had passed, the land of stars had not been breached by the Shenyan forces. This is because there is a very strong barrier protecting this land. However, when he looked carefully, he found that the barrier could no longer hold up for long. At the edge of the starry land, a large number of divine and evil creatures can be seen gathering. They seem to be waiting for an opportunity. Once the barrier is broken, they will immediately pour into the starry land. Sister Xiaojing also came out of the divine mirror of six paths. Now she is also very powerful. When she came out to control the divine mirror of six paths, he can also release very powerful power, which can help Chen Shang lighten a lot of burdens. Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing looked at each other and understood the current emergency situation. If action is not taken soon, the Land of Stars is likely to fall into the hands of the Shenyang forces. Chen Shang took a deep breath, held the Azure Dragon Demon Slaying Knife tightly, and said, Sister Xiaojing, we have to strengthen this barrier immediately. I will be responsible for resisting the attacks of the evil spirits, and you will be responsible for strengthening the barrier. Sister Xiaojing nodded, without saying anything, and immediately started to use the power in her body. With a slight wave of her hands, a powerful wave of energy spread out and gradually integrated into the barrier. There is the source of the 5 elements inside the divine mirror of 6 paths. She has not yet started to mobilize the power of the source of the 5 elements. The main reason is that the current barrier is still too fragile. If the power of the source of the 5 elements is directly injected into it, it may cause the barrier to tremble. Chen Shang was on the edge of the Land of Stars, facing those evil creatures. He held the Azure Dragon Demon Slaying Knife tightly, and the power of the 5 elements of destiny in his body continued to circulate, and he was ready to fight at any time. The evil spirits seemed to be aware of Chen Zhang's presence, and they began to let out bursts of shrill screams, as if in demonstration. Chen Shang sneered, and with a wave of the Azure Dragon Demon Slaying Knife in his hand, a colorful dragon roared out and rushed towards those evil creatures. The powerful power erupted from the 5 elements' destiny power frightened those evil creatures, and they all avoided the attack of the colorful dragon. Chen Shang took the opportunity to rush into the camp of the evil spirits, and kept waving the green dragon demon slaying knife in his hand, killing those evil creatures that dared to get close. Sister Xiaojing stood in the center of the Land of Stars. She kept waving her hands, and powerful energy fluctuations spread out and gradually integrated into the barrier. Over time, as time passed, the barrier that could no longer hold up began to gradually emit a faint light, as if it was gradually returning to life. Brother, I'm going to use the power of the source of the 5 elements. There will be a lot of noise later, please pay attention. Sister Xiaojing sent a message to Chen Shang. I know, Chen Shang replied while cleaning away the evil things. He also wanted to see the power of the source of the 5 elements. Sister Xiaojing began to operate the Wuxi Zongyuan inside the 6 paths divine mirror, and Chen Shang also felt the strong fluctuations in the source of the 5 elements. Sister Xiaojing waved her hands gently in the air, and the source of the 5 elements began to bloom with dazzling light. These rays of light seemed to be composed of countless tiny light points. They continue to gather in the void and gradually form a huge light group. As the 6 paths divine mirror continued to inject power, the light group began to gradually expand, and the light emitted became more and more intense. Chen Shang could clearly feel that the surrounding air was starting to become hot, as if he was standing next to a huge stove. Suddenly, the light ball exploded violently, and countless dazzling rays of light spread in all directions. These lights seemed to have infinite power. They shuttled through the void and gradually integrated into the barrier. At this time, the barrier also fluctuated in all directions, spreading out ripples of colorful light. The Land of Stars is a small universe. At this time, it is like a small universe flashing colorful light waves around, stimulating waves of colorful ripples. Wherever the colorful light waves hit, all the evil spirits and evil things turned into ashes and dissipated. This scene was so spectacular and shocking that Chen Shang couldn't help but marvel at it. Sister Xiaojing has successfully strengthened the barrier. All the evil spirits, large and small, around them have been killed, and the Land of Stars is temporarily safe. Do you like this site? Donate here. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5451, The Will of the Sacred Tree. Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing were in the barrier and felt a lot more at ease when they felt the strong and stable barrier. Brother, we have only come into contact with 3 kinds of destiny so far, and we don't know what the other 3 destiny are. Sister Xiaojing stood on the 6 paths divine mirror. At this moment, she turned into a young girl, wearing a white dress, with a faint multicolored glow on her body, holy and beautiful. Her pretty face was full of worry, and she sighed, this battle for destiny must be very complicated and confusing. The servant of the 5 elements said that the 7th destiny will be born in our Taichu heaven and earth. I don't know whether it is a good thing or a bad thing. Since it is a battle of destiny, and we are already the people of the 5 elements' destiny, it is inevitable to be involved in this battle. Chen Shang looked at the huge ancient star tree in the distance. If the ancient star tree turned into the 5 elements sacred tree, it would definitely cause a lot of commotion. In order to occupy Taichu heaven and earth, Shenyan Tianming will definitely send out a large number of minions to pull out the sacred tree. At present, it seems that the relationship between Shenyang's destiny and Five Elements' destiny is good. Sister Xiaojing looked at the sky, her eyes twinkling, thoughtfully. I don't know when Sister Qingxing will return. A large number of her clones are still in the land of stars. It can be said that half of her soul is still here. Chen Shang said, her clones are also a very powerful force and she will not give up. Many previous palace masters of Taichu Academy were clones of Qingxing, and the 4 palace masters of Xingwei Temple were the most powerful clones of Qingxing. They could be said to be part of Qingxing. Her clones were everywhere, so Chen Shang wasn't too worried about Qingxing leaving. Sister Xiaojing nodded and said, this is her route, and she will definitely not leave. I'm wondering, could the so-called 7th destiny be born from the combination of Shenyang destiny and 5 Elements destiny? After she finished speaking, she looked at Chen Shang. Chen Shang represents the 5 Elements destiny, while Qingxing represents the Divine Yang destiny. I don't know. Chen Shang shook his head repeatedly. He had had this idea before, but he felt it was not that simple. It shouldn't be that simple. Maybe the 7th destiny was not created by man. Sister Xiaojing said, not necessarily, brother, you have created many things. If you can create the 7th destiny, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Chen Shang shook his head and smiled, Sister Xiaojing, you have participated in battles before, and you also know how powerful those destiny are. How can I create it? What's more, I don't know anything about destiny now. Sister Xiaojing laughed and said, anyway, I have confidence in you. It was only after the 5 Elements servant saw you that he said that the 7th destiny might be born in the Taichu heaven and earth, and I also believe in you. Chen Shang was silent because he had no clue at all. He smiled helplessly and said, it probably has nothing to do with me, just let nature take its course. Stop talking, I want to go back and train your group of purgatory saints. While the source of the 5 Elements is still in the 6 Paths Divine Mirror, I have to make good use of it to help them complete the final improvement, and then I will go and refine your divine weapons and artifacts. After Sister Xiaojing finished speaking, she disappeared and returned to the inside of the 6 Paths Divine Mirror. For many years, it was Sister Xiaojing who helped Chen Shang to refine those magical weapons and artifacts. Now that the source of the 5 Elements is still there, she can't wait to use the source of the 5 Elements to refine and upgrade those magical weapons and artifacts, and then help the purgatory saints to increase their strength. Chen Shang did not return to the starry ancient tree immediately, because after entering the starry land, he could clearly feel that the starry ancient tree had a strong influence on the 5 Elements. Source has a strong resistance. Although the 5 Elements sky monument was in the Xingwei ancient wood and was very harmonious, after the source of the 5 Elements appeared, the Xingwei ancient wood was unusually resistant, which made Chen Shang very confused. Sister Jing, the ancient Xingwei tree doesn't like the source of the 5 Elements. Chen Shang said, I can clearly feel it, so I don't dare to get close now because I'm worried that the ancient Xingwei tree will make a big move. Could it be that the starry ancient tree doesn't want to become the 5 Elements sacred tree? Sister Xiaojing also felt very strange and said doubtfully, that's not right. When the starry ancient tree absorbs the power of the 5 Elements monument, it's so fun. Chen Shang nodded and said, if the ancient star tree merges into the source of the 5 Elements, then the ancient star tree will no longer be the ancient star tree and will become the 5 Elements sacred tree. Does it want to be itself? Then what should we do? Sister Xiaojing sighed in annoyance, these are troublesome. The ancient Xingwei tree is very powerful, so we can't force it. Chen Shang said, maybe the current source of the 5 Elements is no longer the original source of the 5 Elements. Sister Xiaojing said, it is indeed not the source of the 5 Elements before. After all, it has been integrated with the power of Shenyang destiny and Shenyan destiny. But I still feel that Xingwei Gumu wants to be himself. This sacred tree is also a bit petty. Chen Shang smiled bitterly and said, if the ancient Xingwei tree turns into the 5 Elements sacred tree, it will be equivalent to death. It will be equivalent to becoming a wedding dress, so that's why you are resisting it. Is it really equivalent to death? Sister Xiaojing said, I thought it was just that the ancient Xingwei tree evolved. The source of the 5 Elements is very strong. After entering the ancient star tree, it will definitely dominate and then destroy the original consciousness and thoughts of the ancient star tree. The roots of the 5 Elements will take root and sprout inside the ancient star tree, and the source of the 5 Elements will become the heart of the sacred tree. Probably the source of the 5 Elements will swallow up the ancient star tree and then grow the 5 Elements sacred tree. Chen Shang closed his eyes and could roughly deduce the growth process of the 5 elements sacred tree, but this was not what he wanted to see. He previously believed that the ancient star tree absorbed the source of the 5 elements, and then transformed into the 5 elements sacred tree on the original basis, retaining consciousness and thoughts. Sister Xiao Jing said, the power of the 5 elements sacred tree comes from the 5 elements destiny, so when the time comes, the thoughts and consciousness of the 5 elements sacred tree will be the 5 elements destiny, so the starry ancient tree will also die completely. This is really not good. Yes, I can't let go of my old friend Xingwei Gumu. Chen Shang also didn't want this to happen. Brother, is there any other way? We also want the ancient star tree, and then we also need the 5 elements sacred tree. Sister Xiao Jing said, by the way, isn't there a sacred tree of Taichu under the Taurus star? Use that sacred tree. No. I don't know, I'll have to go check it out to be sure. Chen Shang closed his eyes and quickly sensed that the divine tree of absolute beginning had grown out from under the Taurus star. Palace Master Zhao King was watching over there. Because this tree also had its own consciousness, Chen Shang was not sure whether the Taichu sacred tree was willing to make sacrifices. If you don't want to, what should you do? Sister Xiao Jing suddenly felt dizzy and said, then we have the source of the 5 elements, but we can't make the 5 elements sacred tree come into being. Chen Shang doesn't know now. He shook his head and said, I don't know either. I can only take it one step at a time. Maybe this is also a test for me. This means that Chen Shang cannot use the existing sacred tree to give birth to the 5 elements divine tree. He can only find a way to create the 5 elements divine tree through the source of the 5 elements. Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing were in the barrier and felt a lot more at ease when they felt the strong and stable barrier. Brother, we have only come into contact with 3 kinds of destiny so far, and we don't know what the other 3 destiny are. Sister Xiao Jing stood on the 6 paths divine mirror. At this moment, she turned into a young girl, wearing a white dress, with a faint multicolored glow on her body, holy and beautiful. Her pretty face was full of worry, and she sighed, this battle for destiny must be very complicated and confusing. The servant of the 5 elements said that the 7th destiny will be born in our Taichu heaven and earth. I don't know whether it is a good thing or a bad thing. Since it is a battle of destiny, and we are already the people of the 5 elements destiny, it is inevitable to be involved in this battle. Chen Shang looked at the huge ancient star tree in the distance. If the ancient star tree turned into the 5 elements sacred tree, it would definitely cause a lot of commotion. In order to occupy Taichu heaven and earth, Shenyang Tianming will definitely send out a large number of minions to pull out the sacred tree. At present, it seems that the relationship between Shenyang's destiny and 5 elements destiny is good. Sister Xiao Jing looked at the sky, her eyes twinkling, thoughtfully, I don't know when Sister Qingxing will return. A large number of her clones are still in the land of stars. It can be said that half of her soul is still here. Chen Shang said, her clones are also a very powerful force and she will not give up. Many previous palace masters of Taichu Academy were clones of Qingxing, and the 4 palace masters of Xingwei Temple were the most powerful clones of Qingxing. They could be said to be part of Qingxing. Her clones were everywhere, so Chen Shang wasn't too worried about Qingxing leaving. Sister Xiao Jing nodded and said, this is her route, and she will definitely not leave. I'm wondering, could the so-called 7th destiny be born from the combination of Shenyang destiny and 5 elements destiny? After she finished speaking, she looked at Chen Shang. Chen Shang represents the 5 elements destiny, while Qingxing represents the divine yang destiny. I don't know. Chen Shang shook his head repeatedly. He had had this idea before, but he felt it was not that simple. It shouldn't be that simple. Maybe the 7th destiny was not created by man. Sister Xiao Jing said, not necessarily, brother, you have created many things. If you can create the 7th destiny, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Chen Shang shook his head and smiled, Sister Xiao Jing, you have participated in battles before, and you also know how powerful those destiny are. How can I create it? What's more, I don't know anything about destiny now. Sister Xiao Jing laughed and said, anyway, I have confidence in you. It was only after the 5 elements servant saw you that he said that the 7th destiny might be born in the Taichu heaven and earth, and I also believe in you. Chen Shang was silent because he had no clue at all. He smiled helplessly and said, it probably has nothing to do with me, just let nature take its course. Stop talking, I want to go back and train your group of purgatory saints. While the source of the 5 elements is still in the 6 paths divine mirror, I have to make good use of it to help them complete the final improvement, and then I will go and refine your divine weapons and artifacts. After Sister Xiaojing finished speaking, she disappeared and returned to the inside of the Six Paths Divine Mirror. For many years, it was Sister Xiaojing who helped Chen Shang to refine those magical weapons and artifacts. Now that the source of the 5 elements is still there, she can't wait to use the source of the 5 elements to refine and upgrade those magical weapons and artifacts, and then help the Purgatory Saints to increase their strength. Chen Shang did not return to the Starry Ancient Tree immediately, because after entering the Starry Land, he could clearly feel that the Starry Ancient Tree had a strong influence on the 5 elements. Source has a strong resistance. Although the 5 elements sky monument was in the Xingwei Ancient Wood and was very harmonious, after the source of the 5 elements appeared, the Xingwei Ancient Wood was unusually resistant, which made Chen Shang very confused. Sister Jing, the ancient Xingwei tree doesn't like the source of the 5 elements. Chen Shang said, I can clearly feel it, so I don't dare to get close now because I'm worried that the ancient Xingwei tree will make a big move. Could it be that the Starry Ancient Tree doesn't want to become the 5 elements sacred tree? Sister Xiaojing also felt very strange and said doubtfully, that's not right. When the Starry Ancient Tree absorbs the power of the 5 elements monument, it's so fun. Chen Shang nodded and said, if the ancient star tree merges into the source of the 5 elements, then the ancient star tree will no longer be the ancient star tree and will become the 5 elements sacred tree. Does it want to be itself? Then what should we do? Sister Xiaojing sighed in annoyance, these are troublesome. The ancient Xingwei tree is very powerful, so we can't force it. Chen Shang said, maybe the current source of the 5 elements is no longer the original source of the 5 elements. Sister Xiaojing said, it is indeed not the source of the 5 elements before. After all, it has been integrated with the power of Shenyang destiny and Shenyan destiny. But I still feel that Xingwei Gumu wants to be himself. This sacred tree is also a bit petty. Chen Shang smiled bitterly and said, if the ancient Xingwei tree turns into the 5 elements sacred tree, it will be equivalent to death. It will be equivalent to becoming a wedding dress, so that's why you are resisting it. Is it really equivalent to death? Sister Xiaojing said, I thought it was just that the ancient Xingwei tree evolved. The source of the 5 elements is very strong. After entering the ancient star tree, it will definitely dominate and then destroy the original consciousness and thoughts of the ancient star tree. The roots of the 5 elements will take root and sprout inside the ancient star tree, and the source of the 5 elements will become the heart of the sacred tree. Probably the source of the 5 elements will swallow up the ancient star tree and then grow the 5 elements sacred tree. Chen Shang closed his eyes and could roughly deduce the growth process of the 5 elements sacred tree, but this was not what he wanted to see. He previously believed that the ancient star tree absorbed the source of the 5 elements, and then transformed into the 5 elements sacred tree on the original basis, retaining consciousness and thoughts. Sister Xiaojing said, the power of the 5 elements sacred tree comes from the 5 elements destiny, so when the time comes, the thoughts and consciousness of the 5 elements sacred tree will be the 5 elements destiny, so the starry ancient tree will also die completely. This is really not good. Yes, I can't let go of my old friend Xingwei Gumu. Chen Shang also didn't want this to happen. Brother, is there any other way? We also want the ancient star tree, and then we also need the 5 elements sacred tree. Sister Xiaojing said, by the way, isn't there a sacred tree of Taichu under the Taurus star? Use that sacred tree. No. I don't know, I'll have to go check it out to be sure. Chen Shang closed his eyes and quickly sensed that the divine tree of absolute beginning had grown out from under the Taurus star. Palace Master Zhao King was watching over there. Because this tree also had its own consciousness, Chen Shang was not sure whether the Taichu sacred tree was willing to make sacrifices. If you don't want to, what should you do? Sister Xiaojing suddenly felt dizzy and said, then we have the source of the 5 elements, but we can't make the 5 elements sacred tree come into being. Chen Shang doesn't know now. He shook his head and said, I don't know either. I can only take it one step at a time. Maybe this is also a test for me. This means that Chen Shang cannot use the existing sacred tree to give birth to the 5 elements divine tree. He can only find a way to create the 5 elements divine tree through the source of the 5 elements. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5452, Emperor's Fall. Chen Shang took a deep breath to calm down. He is now facing a huge problem and cannot hesitate or waver. He must find a way to create the 5 elements sacred tree through the source of the 5 elements, otherwise they will have the source of the 5 elements but not be able to make it play its true role. Sister Xiaojing, let's set off to Taurus now to see if the divine tree of absolute beginning is willing to make sacrifices. Chen Shang said. Sister Xiaojing nodded and said nothing. The most important thing for her now is to support Chen Shang so that he can complete this arduous task. As a result, the two traveled through the void and soon arrived at Taurus. On Taurus, Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing saw the divine tree of absolute beginning. This tree has grown very tall, with lush branches and leaves, and exudes a powerful aura. Chen Shang could clearly feel the powerful power contained within this tree, as if it was an endless source of energy. Palace Master Zhaoqing is also here. She is taking care of the divine tree of absolute beginning and flying around it. When she saw Chen Shang coming, she flew over lightly, as pure and elegant as a fairy. Chen Shang has been away from the land of stars for a long time. Unexpectedly, Palace Master Zhaoqing has changed a lot now. Her beautiful face is fair and transparent, with a slight peach blossom blush, and her eyes are like the brightest stars in the night sky, clear and transparent. Her long eyelashes fluttered gently like butterfly wings. When she smiled, her eyes were like the smiling moon, making people feel warm and sweet. The most eye-catching thing about her is her long silver-white hair. The long hair fell on her shoulders like a waterfall, silky and smooth. Under the light of the divine tree of absolute beginning, the silver hair shone with sparkling light, pure and flawless. When the breeze blows, this long hair will flutter gently, like a fairy descending to earth. The posture is elegant and charming. Brother Shen, I miss you so much. Palace Mistress Zhaoqing landed lightly and looked at Chen Shang lovingly. Her red lips were as bright as cherries, slightly upturned, with a sweet smile. She was slender and well-proportioned, and was wearing a long white dress. The hem of the skirt fluttered gently with her steps, like clouds dancing in the sky. Every movement looks so elegant and natural. Her beauty lies not only in appearance, but also in the temperament and charm that radiates from the inside out. Her very existence is a symbol of beauty that is irresistible. Sister Zhaoqing, Chen Shang gently hugged Palace Master Zhaoqing into his arms. She is Qingxing's clone. Because of Qingxing's departure, Chen Shang also misses Qingxing especially. It seems that Zhaoqing Palace Master was also influenced by Qingxing, and his feelings for Chen Shang deepened. The two hugged and kissed each other, no need to say anything, and they felt each other's deep love for each other. For a long time, Chen Shang looked at the beauty in his arms and asked softly, Sister Zhaoqing, how are you doing these past few years? Brother Shen, I am living a good life, and my life is very peaceful. After so many years, I finally see you. I am trying to think of ways to make this tree grow better. Chen Shang smiled and nodded, Sister Zhaoqing, we have some things that we need to discuss with you. With that said, he told Palace Master Zhaoqing about the purpose of his and Sister Xiaojing's visit. After hearing this, Palace Master Zhaoqing frowned and fell into deep thought. This is indeed a difficult problem. Palace Master Zhaoqing said, this Taichu divine tree already has its own consciousness and thoughts. I don't know if it is willing to make sacrifices. Chen Shang took a deep breath and said, can we talk to this person? Communicate with a tree, let's see if it's willing to help us. Quote. Palace Master Zhaoqing nodded and placed her hand on the trunk of the Taichu sacred tree. There was a look of concentration on her face, as if she was having an in-depth communication with the tree. After a while, Palace Master Zhaoqing frowned slightly, then shook her head at Chen Shang. It doesn't want to. Palace Master Zhaoqing sighed, because it doesn't think it belongs to any destiny, and it doesn't want to join any destiny. Why? Chen Shang asked. At this time, a voice came. Because it belongs to the beginning of heaven and earth. The voice belonged to a woman. Chen Shang frowned when he heard this voice, feeling a little familiar yet a little strange. He suddenly remembered that Taurus was intended to be the host of Taurus. He had also cooperated with this star back then, but she was still a little kid at that time. Thousands of years have passed in the blink of an eye, and of course this little kid has grown up. Master Taurus, you're fine. Chen Shang said with a smile. Xingwei Emperor, I know that you have obtained the source of the 5 elements. I also know that if it were not for you, Taurus would have fallen long ago. I am also very grateful to you. The woman's voice came, I can be a bull for you. Dongma, if you want me to be your slave girl, I have no complaints, but I cannot sacrifice the divine tree of Taichu. Chen Shang fell silent and did not speak. There are many little star masters in the starry land, and they are all very grateful to Chen Shang. As long as Chen Shang needs it, they are willing to die for Chen Shang at any time. The same is true for the Taurus Star Lord, but she would rather sacrifice herself than let the divine tree of Taichu sacrifice, which shows that the divine tree is of great significance to her. Chen Shang said, the future development of the land of stars will rely on a large number of stars. Your Excellency. However, as the Star Master, he naturally put in a lot of effort. Quote, over the years since he was absent from the land of stars, these Star Lords have indeed put in a lot of effort to maintain the boundaries of the land of stars and the various orders in the land of stars. This divine tree of absolute beginning is the only divine tree of absolute beginning in the starry land, and the only divine tree of the entire absolute beginning heaven and earth. If it becomes the five elements divine tree, it means that the absolute beginning heaven and earth will no longer have its own divine tree in the future. Taurus Star Lord, he continued, Queen Qingxing is no longer able to create the divine tree of absolute beginning. Chen Shang suddenly became thoughtful. The sacred trees of Taichu were all created by Qingxing. Although she was the servant of Shenyang, she did not create these sacred trees based on the power of Shenyang's destiny, but through the power of the laws of Taichu heaven and earth. Lord Taurus added, there was originally a Taichu emperor in Taichu heaven and earth, but the emperor is already dead. Chen Shang frowned and asked, I've heard of it before, why is he dead now? The emperor protected Taichu heaven and earth and was killed by Shenyan. He sacrificed his life. Originally, you could become Taichu emperor, but you joined the five elements of destiny, so now you can only be the Xingwei emperor in the land of stars. Lord Taurus said, unless you abandon the five elements of destiny. Chen Shang shook his head and said, I joined the five elements destiny purely to preserve the Taichu heaven and earth. I came back with the source of the five elements this time to create the five elements sacred tree, and then completely defeat the Shenyan destiny and restore the Taichu heaven and earth to their original state. Quote, Lord Taurus said, I know you have made great sacrifices for this. But what happens after that? Will the heaven and earth be safe in the beginning? Shenyang destiny, one of the six major destiny, was defeated, the five elements destiny declined, and now Shenyan destiny is at its peak, and it is still there are three other great destiny that are eyeing. The sacred trees created by Queen Qingxing did not give them the power of destiny. I think she had other intentions. The only remaining sacred trees of Taichu must not be tainted by the sixth destiny. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5453, Divine Tree Life. Chen Shang fell into deep thought, and he understood the meaning of Taurus Star's words. When Qingxing created the Taichu divine trees, he did not endow them with the power of destiny. This seems to mean that Qingxing hopes that these sacred trees can transcend the constraints of destiny and become the true guardians of the Taichu heaven and earth. Lord Taurus, I understand your worries. Chen Shang said in a deep voice, however, our current enemy is Shenyan Tianming, and they are threatening the existence of Taichu heaven and earth. If we do not take action, Taichu heaven and earth may fall into a deeper state. Big crisis. Taurus Star Lord sighed softly, I understand your position, but I can't sacrifice the divine tree of absolute beginning. We need to find other solutions. Chen Shang nodded and said, I will respect your decision. However, I cannot give up the opportunity to create the five elements divine tree. I think we need to find a way to protect the Taichu divine tree and create the five elements divine tree at the same time. Tree. Lord Taurus was silent for a moment and said, I will discuss it with my elders to see if there are any other solutions. However, I hope you can understand my position. Chen Shang sighed softly and said, I understand, we are all here to protect the Taichu world. I will wait for your news. The voice of Master Taurus gradually disappeared in the air, leaving Chen Shang and Palace Master Zhao Qing looking at each other and sighing. They understand that the road to creating the five elements divine tree is full of difficulties and challenges, but they are also determined to work hard to defend Taichu heaven and earth. Chen Shang took a deep breath and said, Sister Zhao Qing, what should we do next? Palace Master Zhao Qing shook her head slightly and said, I don't know. I hope Master Taurus can discuss a solution with those elders. Do you know what happened to that elder? Chen Shang was curious just now. It is an elders' council that guards the Taichu sacred tree, and there are also many star lords and powerful people participating. Palace Master Zhao Qing said, this is all founded by the Taurus Star Lord organization and, in other words, if someone wants to take action against the Taichu sacred tree, they must go through the Presbyterian Council. Quote. Chen Shang took a deep breath. She did not expect that the Taurus Star Lord would go to such an extent to protect the divine tree of absolute beginning. This also shows that the divine tree of absolute beginning is very important to her, and maybe it is still the mission entrusted to her by Qingxing. Not long after, a voice came from the Taurus Star Lord. We have come up with a way, that is, the Taichu Divine Tree is willing to make a partial sacrifice. In other words, we are willing to give you half of the Divine Tree vitality of the Taichu Divine Tree. These vitality are part of the power that makes up the body of the Divine Tree. Chen Shang said, with these living things, what can I do? Lord Taurus said, if you want to create the 5 elements sacred tree, you first need a sacred tree. This sacred tree must also take root and sprout in the beginning of the world. What you have to do is to use your own flesh and blood to fuse the sacred tree and create it. Yuan, go and create the body of the divine tree. Chen Shang understood. Palace Master Zhao King frowned, shook her head and said, Brother Shen, your body only has this little, your flesh and blood is not enough. It will be enough. Chen Shang also used his own blood to refine elixirs before, but he needed a lot of energy to help him recover his blood. This is not a problem for him. After all, he has the source of the 5 elements. As long as he absorbs the power of the 5 elements of destiny, he can continuously restore his cut flesh and blood. The voice of the Lord of Taurus came again. Chen Shang, are you ready? Our Council of Elders has made a decision and is willing to give you half of the life force of the Taichu Divine Tree. Chen Shang took a deep breath and said firmly, I'm ready. No matter what kind of sacrifices I need to make, I am willing to work hard to protect the Taichu world. Strive hard. Quote, the Lord of Taurus seemed to be infected by his determination and said softly, we will give you the strongest support. I hope you can successfully create the 5 elements sacred tree and protect the peace of Taichu heaven and earth. Chen Shang nodded and said, I will try my best. Palace Master Zhao King gently held Chen Zhang's hand and said softly, Brother Shen, I will always be by your side. No matter what difficulties and challenges we encounter, we will face it together. Chen Shang kissed her red lips and smiled softly, thank you. In the land of stars, in the center of the Taurus continent, the divine tree of Taichu rises from the ground and stands there. Its crown reaches into the clouds and its branches are luxuriant. The trunk is inlaid with many sparkling runes, exuding a mysterious atmosphere. Through a mysterious and solemn ceremony, the Taurus Star Lord and the elders began to separate part of the vitality of the Taichu Divine Tree. This process requires extremely high skills and strength, and a little carelessness may cause damage to the Taichu sacred tree. The Lord of Taurus clasped his hands together and muttered something. A pale golden light gradually emitted around her body, as if she was integrated with the entire universe. Hundreds of elders formed a circle, holding various mysterious instruments and runes in their hands. Their faces were full of solemnity and piety, as if they were performing a sacred sacrifice. As the voice of Lord Taurus became louder and louder, the runes on the Taichu Divine Tree began to shine with dazzling light. A powerful wave of energy emanated from the tree trunk, causing the surrounding air to tremble slightly. Suddenly, a dazzling light soared from the crown of the Taichu Divine Tree and shot straight into the sky. This light was so intense that everything around it dimmed. Eclipsed, Chen Shang and Palace Master Zhao King both held their breaths and watched this scene intently. This is the moment when the vitality of the Taichu Divine Tree was separated. The soaring light gradually condensed into a huge light group, suspended in the air. This light group exudes soft light, like a bright pearl. Star Lord Taurus took a deep breath, waved his hands, and the light ball slowly floated towards Chen Zhang's direction. Chen Shang was already prepared. He used the 6 Paths Divine Mirror to envelop the light group in it. The 6 Paths Divine Mirror emits 6 colors of light, which complement the light group. Chen Shang concentrated on controlling the 6 Paths Divine Mirror and sucked the light group into it bit by bit. This process lasted for a long time until the light group completely disappeared into the 6 Paths Divine Mirror. It's up to you from now on. The voice of Lord Taurus came from a distance, with a hint of exhaustion. You have given me so many sacred tree vitality, so how is the sacred tree of the beginning doing now? Chen Shang was also a little worried at this time. The divine tree of Taichu was left behind by Qingxing, and it seemed that it was created for him. The Lord of Taurus sighed softly. The divine tree of absolute beginning lost its vitality and naturally became weak. But you don't have to worry, it is still tough, it just needs some time to recover. Chen Shang took a deep breath, his heart full of gratitude and respect. I will use my power to make it shine again. Taurus Star Lord said softly, we all know you will. However, you must also be careful. The power of the sacred tree's vitality is very powerful. If you don't know how to use it, you may hurt yourself. I understand. Chen Shang nodded and held the 6 Paths Divine Mirror tightly. He could feel the powerful power contained in it. Please move your fingers and share this website to Facebook so that we can continue to operate. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5454, Seed of the Sacred Tree. Palace Master Zhao King looked at Chen Shang and said softly, Brother Shen, I believe you can do it. Chen Shang smiled at her, his eyes full of determination, I will do it. For Taichu heaven and earth, and for you, I will definitely succeed. Say goodbye to Lord Taurus, say goodbye to Lord Zhao King, and leave the land of the divine tree of Taichu. He found a secluded, empty and uninhabited place in the land of stars, and began to carefully study the sacred tree energy in the six paths divine mirror. This ball of sacred tree vitality is radiant and full of vitality. Brother, what are you going to do? Sister Xiaojing asked. There are 5 elements heavenly roots inside the 5 elements source. Through the power of the 5 elements source, we should be able to create the roots or tree species needed for the 5 elements divine tree. Chen Shang took out the world-proud divine furnace and continued, I plan to extract a part of the 5 elements destiny power from the source of the 5 elements, then inject it into the divine furnace, and refine it together with the sacred tree life force, and then continue to add my flesh and blood during the process. Refining the seeds of the 5 elements sacred tree. Why not put the source of the 5 elements in completely? Sister Xiaojing asked. No, I have to keep part of the source of the 5 elements in my hands, because in this process, I need to constantly cut my flesh and bleed, and the source of the 5 elements can help me recover quickly. Chen Shang sighed, and said, and I don't want to the source of the 5 elements is completely integrated into the 5 elements sacred tree, and I am also worried that the destiny of the 5 elements is too deeply tied to the Taichu heaven and earth. Then let's get started, I'll use the 6 paths divine mirror to help you. After saying that, Sister Xiaojing came out of the 6 paths divine mirror. Chen Shang nodded and said, when the time comes, I will still need the power of the starry land. The starry ancient tree will also help me. Xingwei ancient wood was previously worried that it would be transformed into the 5 elements sacred tree by Chen Shang, so it was a little cold towards Chen Shang. But now that Chen Shang has found a way, it will naturally help Chen Shang with all its strength. Then let's get started. Sister Xiaojing is also quite excited because she can participate again and witness Chen Shang create and refine such a great thing. Greater than. Chen Shang took a deep breath, and first released the source of the 5 elements, floating it above the world-proud divine furnace. The source of the 5 elements emits colorful light, like a small star, illuminating the surrounding open space. Then, Chen Shang cut his wrist and blood slowly flowed out. He frowned, endured the pain, and integrated his flesh and blood into the sacred tree's vitality. This process was full of pain, but Chen Shang gritted his teeth and persisted. This is the price he must pay, and it is also his commitment to Taichu heaven and earth. As Chen Shang continued to add flesh and blood, the light in the proud world divine furnace became brighter and brighter, and the temperature became higher and higher. The vitality of the divine tree and Chen Zhang's flesh and blood gradually merged together, and it seemed that a faint embryo was gradually appearing. Chen Shang continued to inject the power of the 5 elements of destiny into the germ. This process required very fine control and huge energy support. There was pain on his face, but he didn't stop. This was a process that he had to go through, and he was used to it. Sister Xiaojing holds the divine mirror of 6 paths tightly, ready to help Chen Shang at any time. Chen Zhang's flesh and blood has been integrated into the sacred tree's vitality, and the embryo has begun to gradually take shape. He took a deep breath, controlled the power of the 5 elements of destiny, and continued to inject it into the germ. This process was extremely difficult, but Chen Shang did not give up. He closed his eyes tightly, sweat falling from his forehead and soaking the ground. Sister Xiaojing looked at Chen Shang, her heart filled with worry and respect. Chen Shang is using her life force to create the 5 elements sacred tree. She prays silently, hoping that Chen Shang can succeed. As time passes, the embryo gradually grows and its shape becomes clearer and clearer. Chen Zhang's face turned pale, but he did not stop. He knew that he could not fail, otherwise the Taichu world would suffer even greater disasters. Sister Xiaojing also gradually felt Chen Zhang's fatigue and pain. You know, Chen Shang repeatedly cuts off the flesh and bleeds it. This process is also very mentally tortured. Brother, can I take action now? Sister Xiaojing is also very eager to help Chen Shang, but she cannot take action without Chen Zhang's permission. Almost. Chen Shang nodded. She took out the divine mirror of 6 paths and began to inject power into the germ. The light of the six paths divine mirror shines on the entire open space, and a powerful energy pours out of the mirror, into the proud divine furnace, and directly into the germ. The germ began to glow with colorful lights and seemed to be more active. Chen Shang felt the help from Sister Xiaojing, and he looked at her gratefully. "Brother, are you okay?" Sister Xiaojing asked. "I'm fine." Chen Shang gritted his teeth and said, "You continue." Sister Xiaojing nodded and continued to inject power into the germ. Chen Shang also continued to control the power of the 5 elements of destiny, fused with the divine tree's vitality. This process was extremely difficult, but neither of them gave up. Sister Xiaojing controls the 6 paths divine mirror, which emits bright light, reflecting the light in the proud divine furnace. Sister Xiaojing took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and began to feel the power of the 6 paths divine mirror with her heart. Her consciousness merged with the magical mirror, as if she was in another world. In her perception, 6. The Taoist mirror is like a huge treasure house, containing endless energy and wisdom. She began to channel this energy into the proud divine furnace through the divine mirror. With the injection of energy, the light in the proud world divine furnace became even more dazzling. Chen Zhang's face became even paler, but he did not stop and continued to persevere, constantly cutting off a large amount of meat and bones from his body. Under his control, a large amount of blood continued to pour into the world-proud divine furnace like a water column. At the critical moment of this process, a mysterious force suddenly emerged from the earth and enveloped the entire clearing. This power exudes a cold aura, as if coming from the 9 nether abyss, making people shudder. Both Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing felt this power, and their expressions became solemn. They didn't know where this power came from, but they knew it was definitely not a good sign. "Brother, be careful, it's the power of Shenyan," Sister Xiaojing shouted, while increasing the output of the 6 paths divine mirror, trying to resist this mysterious power. Chen Shang also frowned, this divine power might very well ruin their plan. But he did not stop and continued to cut the flesh and bleed it, injecting the power of the 5 elements of destiny into the germ. The power of Shenyan is getting stronger and stronger, as if invisible hands are trying to grab the germs from the proud divine furnace. Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing both tried their best to resist this force. Sister Xiaojing's 6 paths divine mirror shines brightly, intertwined with the power of divine yin, as if fighting for control of the germ. Chen Shang also increased the output of the 5 elements destiny power, trying to stabilize the state of the embryo. This process is extremely difficult, as if it is a life and death battle. Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing both tried their best, with pain on their faces. Please move your fingers and share this website to Facebook so that we can continue to operate. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5455, Dark Starlight. They cannot give up, because they are currently engaged in a battle with unknown forces, and if they are not careful, they may fail. Their eyes are firm, and their hearts are full of desire for success and a sense of responsibility for Taichu heaven and earth. Chen Zhang's body had begun to tremble, but he still firmly cut off his own flesh and bones and poured the blood into the proud divine furnace. Every time he cut his flesh and let out blood, he was tortured mentally, but he had no fear, because only in this way could he successfully refine the seeds of the 5 elements sacred tree. Sister Xiaojing's face was also covered in sweat. The 6 paths divine mirror in her hand had reached its maximum. The light of the divine mirror and the divine yin force collided with each other, making a deafening sound. Her heart was filled with worry, but she could not fall down now, otherwise Chen Shang and the 5 elements sacred tree would suffer unpredictable dangers. The attack of Shenyan force became more and more fierce, and the cold breath seemed to freeze the entire open space, making people feel extremely depressed and frightened. Both Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing have reached their limit, but they are still persisting because they know that this is their only chance. Suddenly, Chen Zhang's body trembled violently, and his face became even paler. Sister Xiaojing's heart tightened because Chen Shang could no longer hold on any longer. She gritted her teeth and increased the output of the 6 paths divine mirror, trying to buy some time for Chen Shang. At this moment, a faint ray of light shot out from the proud world divine furnace and shone on Chen Zhang's body. Chen Zhang's body seemed to be healed by this light, his face began to turn rosy again, and the trembling of his body slowly stopped. "Is it the power of the 5 elements sacred tree?" Sister Xiaojing shouted in surprise. Chen Shang nodded, and he felt a warm current coming from the germ and flowing into his limbs and bones. This power seems to be able to heal all wounds. The pain brought him back to life. With the support of the 5 elements sacred tree, both Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing felt relaxed. The divine yin power is constantly emerging from the ground and seeping in from all sides. What is going on? Although Chen Shang was much more relaxed now, he did not relax his vigilance. This place used to be a rift in the underworld. Although it was sealed, maybe the seal has been loosened now. Chen Shang looked in the direction of the ancient Xingwei tree. This sacred tree had promised to help him before, but it had yet to take action. He was also releasing powerful soul power to call for the Xingwei ancient wood, but received no response. Let's wait, Sister Xiaojing said. Maybe Xingwei Gumu has other things to deal with now. It must be very familiar with the matters in Xingwei land. There is a lot of divine yin power here, and it is impossible for it not to know about it. Quote. Chen Shang nodded and said, there may be more divine yin power deep underground, but it is blocked by the ancient Xingwei tree. Underneath the starry land are the roots of the ancient starry trees. If the cracks in the underworld are torn open again, then with the current strength of the divine power, the entire starry land will surely be defeated. The situation is not optimistic. Chen Shang took a deep breath, and now he felt more and more desperate. Facing the powerful Shenyan destiny, they are like tiny ants. The 5 elements of destiny has declined. The appearance of the golden servant and the 5 elements servant before to help them destroy the soul power of the divine servant of the divine shadow, and the divine servant of the divine shadow should have consumed a lot of power. Is there really nothing we can do? Chen Shang looked at the embryo inside the proud world divine furnace. The seeds of the 5 elements divine tree were about to take shape. But now that the divine yin power is constantly invading, even if the seeds of the 5 elements divine tree are formed, it will be difficult to grow into the 5 elements divine tree. Isn't the 5 elements destiny restraining Shenyan's destiny? Why does it appear so weak now? Sister Xiaojing sighed. Brother, the 5 elements destiny is unreliable. Chen Shang also thought before that relying on the great support of 5 elements destiny, it would be easy to deal with Shenyan destiny, but now it seems that this is not the case. Chen Shang sighed and said, I suspect that Shenyan destiny has obtained a lot of destiny power from Shenyang destiny. Shenyang destiny can overcome the 5 elements destiny. If Shenyan destiny devours some of Shenyang destiny, then no longer afraid of the 5 elements destiny. Chen Shang now only feels that the power of Shenyan is constantly transforming and getting stronger. When he used the 5 elements sky monument to suppress the power of Shenyan, it was very easy at first. Later, he found that the power of Shenyan had become stronger and the 5 elements sky monument could no longer suppress it. The cracks in the underworld deep in the starry land are mainly suppressed by the 5 elements sky monument. If the divine yin power is no longer restrained by the 5 elements heavenly destiny, then it will indeed be unsuppressible. No wonder there are now a large number of divine yin powers emerging from the ground. A large amount of divine yin power is currently concentrated on me. It can be seen that it is to prevent the birth of the 5 elements divine tree. Chen Shang said. Even if the 5 elements sacred tree is born, with the current momentum of Shenyan power, it can quickly destroy the 5 elements sacred tree. Sister Xiaojing looked worried. Brother, we seem to be in a desperate situation, no one can help us. At this moment, the ground began to shake. Chen Shang released a ray of soul that was suspended in the air. When he looked down at the earth, he found that the earth began to emit black gas, but it was quickly pulled back to the earth. The ancient Xingwei tree is trying its best to suppress the power of Shen Yin. Chen Shang could sense that the ancient Xingwei tree was trying its best. R greater than. If the divine power emerges, the entire starry land will fall. Chen Shang sighed and said, it seems that the 5 elements sacred tree cannot save the starry land, nor can it save the Taichu heaven and earth. Sister Xiaojing bit her lip and said with a sad look on her face, Brother, did we fail? Before, they left the land of stars and went to the dark starry sky. They spent thousands of years collecting the power of the 5 elements ancient stars and refining the 5 elements heavenly roots. Later, they came into contact with the 5 elements destiny, which gave them a glimmer of hope. At this moment, the seeds of the 5 elements sacred tree are about to be refined, but Shenyan's destiny has undergone a transformation, and he is no longer afraid of the 5 elements destiny. Although the divine yin power that permeates the surroundings is still very weak now, once the Xingwei ancient tree is defeated, these divine yin powers will become very violent. There is no hope. It's over. Sister Xiaojing was already desperate. It's not over. Chen Zhang's voice suddenly became cold and firm as he said, we still have the 7th destiny. I want to create the 7th destiny. How can we create this? Sister Xiaojing said hurriedly. Brother, you are like this, you can't create it at all. You have invested too much in the seeds of the 5 elements sacred tree. Chen Shang said. The seed of the 5 elements sacred tree was created with my flesh and blood, and I can change it at any time. What I have to do now is to refine the source of the 5 elements again. So, what should we do? How can I help? Sister Xiaojing knew that Chen Shang must have realized something just now. With my power, I definitely cannot create the so-called destiny. Although the Taichu world is full of divine power, the Taichu world has not completely fallen. Chen Shang said, because I am the soul of the Taichu world. As long as I don't die, in the beginning, the heaven and earth would not have fallen, and all these divine powers were directed at me. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5456, Understanding Destiny. Sister Xiaojing was very shocked when she heard this. Although she knew that Chen Shang had a close connection with Taichu heaven and earth, she didn't expect that he would be the soul of Taichu heaven and earth. She looked at Chen Shang, her eyes full of admiration and trust. Brother, what are you going to do? Sister Xiaojing asked. She was already ready to fully support Chen Shang. Chen Shang took a deep breath and said, I need you to help me protect the seeds of the 5 elements sacred tree, and at the same time guide the divine yin power to prevent them from interfering with me. I will use my remaining power to refining the source of the 5 elements and try to create the 7th destiny. Sister Xiaojing nodded and said, Brother, don't worry, I will do my best. Chen Shang sat cross-legged on the ground, released the world-proud divine furnace, and then put the source of the 5 elements into the divine furnace. He also sat inside the divine furnace, together with the source of the 5 elements. Not long after, a faint light emitted around Chen Zhang's body, which was the burning power of his life. Sister Xiaojing stood aside, holding the 6 paths divine mirror tightly, watching the surroundings vigilantly. Her task is very difficult, but she also understands that this is their last hope. As time passed, the light around Chen Zhang's body became stronger and stronger. He began to guide the power of the 5 elements destiny, merge it with his own life force, and refining the source of the 5 elements. This process was extremely difficult, and Chen Shang felt that his life force was constantly passing away. But he didn't stop, because this was his only chance to save Taichu heaven and earth. Sister Xiaojing also felt Chen Zhang's pain and struggle, and her heart was filled with worry. But she did not disturb Chen Shang, but silently prayed for him, hoping that he would succeed. The divine power began to gather, trying to interfere with Chen Shang. Sister Xiaojing immediately activated the 6 paths divine mirror, emitting bright rays of light to repel the divine yin power. The divine power is like countless ghostly tentacles in the dark night. They were originally on the ground. His face was surging. At this moment, he was attracted by the source of Chen Zhang's refining of the 5 elements. He suddenly burst out of the ground and rushed towards Chen Shang. These divine powers exude a cold and evil aura, as if they want to swallow up all light and vitality. Chen Shang was surrounded by a faint golden light, which was his remaining vitality burning. However, with the attack of Shenyan's power, this light began to waver, as if it might go out at any time. The divine power twisted wildly in the air, turning into streaks of black lightning, striking at Chen Shang with destructive power. Chen Zhang's body trembled slightly, but he still closed his eyes tightly and tried hard to maintain the stability of the source of the 5 elements. Sister Xiaojing stood aside, her face was pale, but her eyes shone with determination. She held the 6 paths divine mirror tightly, which was her only weapon now. The divine mirror emits bright light, forming light curtains, trying to resist the attack of divine yin power. However, the divine power is too powerful, and they continue to impact the light curtain, causing more and more cracks on the light curtain. Sister Xiaojing gritted her teeth and tried her best to activate the 6 paths divine mirror, trying to make up for the cracks. Every impact of divine yin power made Sister Xiaojing feel palpitations. She must not fall, she must persevere, otherwise Chen Shang and their hopes will be in vain. However, the attack of Shenyan force becomes more and more fierce. Black lightning danced wildly in the air, as if it was about to swallow up the entire clearing. Sister Xiaojing has reached her limit, her face is as pale as paper, and her body is beginning to collapse. But she still resisted tenaciously. She only had Chen Shang and the source of the 5 elements who were refining in her eyes. She silently chanted Chen Zhang's name in her heart, as if she was drawing strength. Sister Jing, hold on. Just when Sister Xiaojing was about to lose her support, Chen Zhang's voice came to her mind, and a faint light shot out from Chen Zhang's body. This ray of light was warm and bright. It slowly spread and began to dispel the surrounding divine yin power. Elder brother, Sister Xiaojing felt a sense of relief, and she knew that this was the result of Chen Zhang's refining the source of the 5 elements. She took a deep breath and felt the warm light emanating from Chen Zhang's body injecting new strength into her. It was as if a spring of fresh water had been poured into her tired body, rejuvenating her. She raised her head to look at Chen Shang and saw that he was still sitting cross-legged in the divine furnace, closing his eyes tightly and concentrating on refining the source of the 5 elements. Although his face was pale, his expression was very peaceful, as if he was integrated with heaven and earth. Sister Xiaojing knew that Chen Shang was going through a life and death battle, and he was using his own vitality to fight against the divine power. She couldn't let him bear all this alone, she had to stand up and continue to fight against the more powerful divine forces. Brother, I have recovered now, let me fight those things. Sister Xiaojing held the 6 paths divine mirror tightly and felt the powerful power contained in it. She activated the magical mirror, which emitted bright rays of light, which intertwined with the divine yin power to form a thrilling picture. Under the cover of black lightning, the divine power became more and more fierce. They rushed towards Sister Xiaojing like countless ghosts, trying to devour her. However, under the light of the 6 paths divine mirror, these divine yin powers dissipated one after another, making it impossible to get close. Sister Xiaojing kept waving the magic mirror, defeating the black lightning one after another. Her figure looked so tough in the light, standing like a **** of war. The Shenyan power that had been condensed for a period of time had now been shattered by the bombardment of Sister Xiaojing. Because the divine power is everywhere, it will definitely gather and become stronger again, so she can't relax. Sister Xiaojing looked at Chen Shang and saw that the light around him began to become more dazzling, like a burning flame. The process of refining the source of the 5 elements had also entered a critical stage. She could feel a powerful aura emanating from Chen Zhang's body. The momentum of this breath made her feel as if she was connected to the heaven and the earth, boundless. Brother, you must succeed. Sister Xiaojing said silently in her heart. In the process of refining the source of the 5 elements, Chen Shang gradually realized a wonderful power. This power transcends the 5 elements of destiny and seems to be a higher level existence. He began to integrate this power into the source of the 5 elements. This process lasted for a long time, and Chen Shang felt that his vitality was close to being exhausted. But he still persisted because this was his last chance. Finally, at a certain moment, Chen Shang felt a powerful force pouring out from the source of the 5 elements. This power is full of life and vitality, as if it is a brand new destiny, but Chen Shang is still vague about it and is not sure whether it is the power of the 7th destiny. Chen Shang refined the source of the 5 elements in order to refine the power of the 5 elements, destiny inside, and then integrate it into his own body. The main reason is to allow himself to understand what the so-called destiny is. Only in this way can he create the destiny that belongs to the beginning of the world. Defying Dan God Chapter 5457, New Destiny. In front of the proud divine furnace, Chen Zhang's figure looked particularly determined and focused. As he further refined the source of the 5 elements, the power of the 5 elements' destiny was gradually refined and transformed, and new power began to awaken. He also unknowingly fell into a state of extreme selflessness and began to comprehend the destiny. I don't know how much time passed, but Chen Shang, who was trapped in the endless mist, gradually felt many chaotic but extremely powerful forces. The first thing that appears is the yin and yang Tao, which represents the basic opposition and unity of all things in the universe. Chen Shang felt the mystery of the blending of yin and yang, and realized the importance of balance and harmony. Later, the 5 elements way was revealed. During the refining process, Chen Shang deepened his understanding of the mutual interdependence of the 5 elements. He felt the subtle connections and infinite changes of the 5 forces of heaven and earth, water, fire, wood, metal, and earth. The way of time and space allows Chen Zhang's consciousness to travel between history and the future. He travels in the long river of time, sensing the depth and vastness of space at the same time. Then came the way of life and death. Chen Shang felt the cycle of life and death, understood the true meaning of life and death, and in the process realized the preciousness and fragility of life. The Tao of Chaos represents a more profound and unknown power. Chen Shang felt as if he was standing at the origin of the universe, facing the vastness and mystery of unopened chaos. However, when he tried to touch the sixth path, Chen Shang felt an unprecedented strong impact, which caused his consciousness to fall into a state of chaos, and he could only stop immediately. This Tao seems to be hidden in the deeper laws of the universe, and he needs to reach a higher realm in the future to understand it. Six Paths of Destiny. Chen Shang silently made a vow in his heart that he would continue to pursue it until one day he could fully understand all the mysteries of the six paths of destiny. He knew that this was not only the pinnacle of his personal cultivation, but also the key to bringing new hope to the Taichu world. With Chen Zhang's firm oath, the power in the source of the five elements burst out with dazzling light. Although there are only 5 manifestations, they already contain powerful and profound power, indicating Chen Zhang's infinite possibilities in the future. At this moment, Chen Shang not only created a new era, but also set a new goal for his future cultivation path. His mind has been greatly sublimated in this process, and every breath and every heartbeat he takes are closely related to the newly born five destiny. He originally created the Aoshi universe, and unknowingly created the six paths of cultivation, comprehended the six paths of destiny, and provided it for all living things in the Aoshi universe to practice. But later, various chaotic influences of space and time were encountered, causing the Aoshi universe and countless universes to fall into endless chaos. In the chaos, he struggled for countless years against the enemies who caused chaos in time and space, promoting the formation of the Taichu universe and transforming countless chaotic universes into a unified world. Countless stars in countless universes, some in the endless starry sky, and some under the endless earth, are divided into heavenly stars and earthly stars. However, after creating the Taichu heaven and earth, Chen Shang consumed a lot of energy and slept for many years before waking up. After waking up, the Taichu world has been successively occupied by the five elements destiny, Shenyang destiny and Shenyan destiny. Now, Shenyan's destiny has brought this Taichu world into the abyss of darkness. Six paths of destiny, this is another reincarnation. Chen Shang couldn't help but sigh, as if he had returned to the time when Aoshi universe practiced the six paths of practice, which was already many years ago. Back when I created the practice rules, my practice was too shallow and I couldn't maintain it for too long. Even the proud universe fell into disarray. This time, I must make up for my previous regrets. Chen Shang opened his eyes. He was confused before, but now he felt that everything was very clear. "How is brother?" Sister Xiaojing asked eagerly when she saw the firm confidence in Chen Zhang's eyes. "Everything is fine," Chen Shang smiled and said, "the seventh destiny will be born soon. It belongs to the destiny of Taichu heaven and earth. Next, I will start refining the six paths of destiny seeds." Chen Shang said, "Convert the original source of the five elements and the seeds of the five elements sacred tree and refine them again. After refining the six paths of destiny seeds, the fate of Taichu heaven and earth will depend on this. It's a seed." Six paths of destiny. When Sister Xiaojing heard this, she was very excited because she was the soul of the divine mirror of six paths. At this moment, she didn't ask any more questions. Chen Shang took a deep breath and said, "Sister Jing, I need your help. Let's start now." "I will definitely do my best." Sister Xiaojing nodded. The process of refining the six paths of destiny seed was more difficult than Chen Shang imagined. The power contained in the source of the five elements is powerful and unfathomable. To perfectly integrate and refine them into seeds requires great patience and precise control. At this moment, Sister Xiaojing stood aside, holding the six paths divine mirror, ready to help Chen Shang. The divine mirror can balance and coordinate the power of Taichu heaven and earth, and is a key assist in refining the six paths of destiny seed. She whispered the incantation, and a strange light flowed from the mirror, gradually resonating with the source of the five elements. At the same time, the original power of Taichu heaven and earth also began to respond. The entire space seems to be supporting this creative process, and the original power of the Taichu heaven and earth gradually penetrates into the divine furnace and merges with the source of the five elements. The most shocking thing is that the power from the ancient star tree also appeared at this moment. This ancient and mysterious power shines like stars. They fall from the sky, pass through layers of space, and finally converge into the divine furnace. The power of the ancient star tree not only enhances the vitality of the seed, but also gives it the potential to transcend time and space. Even the power of Shenyang Tianming and Shenyan Tianming were gathered together crazily at this moment and poured into the proud divine furnace. Chen Shang felt the support from Sister Xiaojing, Taichu Tiandi and Xingwei Ancient Tree, and his belief became stronger. His hands danced above the sacred furnace, and every gesture was full of power and will. His heart was closely connected with the 6 paths of destiny seed, and he breathed with it. As time went by, the source of the 5 elements and the seeds of the 5 elements sacred tree merged, and finally began to show changes. They gradually condense into a seed that shines with 6 colors of light, the 6 paths of destiny seed. Although this seed is small, it contains huge power. It is Chen Zhang's understanding of the avenue of heaven and earth, and it is also the hope of Taichu's new era of heaven and earth. When the 6 paths of destiny seed finally took shape, the entire Taichu world seemed to tremble, and a new vitality circulated between heaven and earth. Not only did the heaven and earth tremble in the beginning, but even the distant stars seemed to resonate at this moment. The birth of this force seemed to announce the beginning of a new era. In front of the proud divine furnace, Chen Zhang's figure looked particularly determined and focused. As he further refined the source of the 5 elements, the power of the 5 elements' destiny was gradually refined and transformed, and new power began to awaken. He also unknowingly fell into a state of extreme selflessness and began to comprehend the destiny. I don't know how much time passed, but Chen Shang, who was trapped in the endless mist, gradually felt many chaotic but extremely powerful forces. The first thing that appears is the yin and yang Tao, which represents the basic opposition and unity of all things in the universe. Chen Shang felt the mystery of the blending of yin and yang, and realized the importance of balance and harmony. Subsequently, the 5 elements way was revealed. During the refining process, Chen Shang deepened his understanding of the mutual interdependence of the 5 elements. He felt the subtle connections and infinite changes of the 5 forces of heaven and earth: water, fire, wood, metal, and earth. The way of time and space allows Chen Zhang's consciousness to shuttle between history and the future. He travels in the long river of time, sensing the depth and vastness of space at the same time. Then came the way of life and death. Chen Shang felt the cycle of life and death, understood the true meaning of life and death, and in the process realized the preciousness and fragility of life. The Tao of chaos represents a more profound and unknown power. Chen Shang felt as if he was standing at the origin of the universe, facing the vastness and mystery of unopened chaos. However, when he tried to touch the 6th path, Chen Shang felt an unprecedented strong impact, causing his consciousness to fall into a state of chaos, and he could only stop immediately. This Tao seems to be hidden in the deeper laws of the universe, and he needs to reach a higher realm in the future to understand it. 6 paths of destiny. Chen Shang silently made a vow in his heart that he would continue to pursue it until one day he could fully understand all the mysteries of the 6 paths of destiny. He knew that this was not only the pinnacle of his personal cultivation, but also the key to bringing new hope to the Taichu world. With Chen Zhang's firm oath, the power in the source of the 5 elements burst out with dazzling light. Although there are only 5 manifestations, they already contain powerful and profound power, indicating Chen Zhang's infinite possibilities in the future. At this moment, Chen Shang not only created a new era, but also set a new goal for his future cultivation path. His mind has been greatly sublimated in this process, and every breath and heartbeat he takes are closely related to the newly born 5 destiny. He originally created the Aoshi universe, and unknowingly created the 6 paths of cultivation, comprehended the 6 paths of destiny, and provided it for all living things in the Aoshi universe to practice. But later, various chaotic influences of space and time were encountered, causing the Aoshi universe and countless universes to fall into endless chaos. In the chaos, he struggled for countless years against the enemies who caused chaos in time and space, promoting the formation of the Taichu world and transforming countless chaotic universes into a unified world. Countless stars in countless universes, some in the endless starry sky, and some under the endless earth, are divided into heavenly stars and earthly stars. However, after creating the Taichu heaven and earth, Chen Shang consumed a lot of energy and slept for many years before waking up. After waking up, the Taichu world has been successively occupied by the 5 elements destiny, Shenyang destiny and Shenyan destiny. Now, Shenyan's destiny has brought this Taichu world into the abyss of darkness. 6 paths of destiny, this is another reincarnation. Chen Shang couldn't help but sigh, as if he had returned to the time when Aoshi universe practiced the 6 paths of practice, which was already many years ago. When I created the practice rules, my practice was too shallow and I couldn't maintain it for too long. Even the proud universe fell into disarray. This time, I must make up for the previous regrets. Chen Shang opened his eyes. He was confused before, but now he felt that everything was very clear. How is brother? Sister Xiaojing asked eagerly when she saw the firm confidence in Chen Zhang's eyes. Everything is fine, Chen Shang smiled and said, the seventh destiny will be born soon. It belongs to the destiny of Taichu heaven and earth. Next, I will start refining the 6 paths of destiny seeds. Chen Shang said, convert the original source of the 5 elements and the seeds of the 5 elements sacred tree and refine them again. After refining the 6 paths of destiny seeds, the fate of Taichu heaven and earth will depend on this. It's a seed. 6 paths of destiny. When Sister Xiaojing heard this, she was very excited because she was the soul of the divine mirror of 6 paths. At this moment, she didn't ask any more questions. Chen Shang took a deep breath and said, Sister Jing, I need your help. Let's start now. I will definitely do my best. Sister Xiaojing nodded. The process of refining the 6 paths of destiny seed was more difficult than Chen Shang imagined. The power contained in the source of the 5 elements is powerful and unfathomable. To perfectly integrate and refine them into seeds requires great patience and precise control. At this moment, Sister Xiaojing stood aside, holding the 6 paths divine mirror, ready to help Chen Shang. The divine mirror can balance and coordinate the power of Taichu heaven and earth, and is a key assist in refining the 6 paths of destiny seed. She whispered the incantation, and a strange light flowed from the mirror, gradually resonating with the source of the 5 elements. At the same time, the original power of Taichu heaven and earth also began to respond. The entire space seems to be supporting this creative process, and the original power of the Taichu heaven and earth gradually penetrates into the divine furnace and merges with the source of the 5 elements. The most shocking thing is that the power from the ancient star tree also appeared at this moment. This ancient and mysterious power shines like stars. They fall from the sky, pass through layers of space, and finally converge into the divine furnace. The power of the ancient star tree not only enhances the vitality of the seed, but also gives it the potential to transcend time and space. Even the power of Shenyang Tianming and Shenyan Tianming were gathered together crazily at this moment and poured into the proud divine furnace. Chen Shang felt the support from Sister Xiaojing, Taichu Tiandi and Xingwei ancient tree, and his belief became stronger. His hands danced above the sacred furnace, and every gesture was full of power and will. His heart was closely connected with the 6 paths of destiny seed, and he breathed with it. As time went by, the source of the 5 elements and the seeds of the 5 elements sacred tree merged, and finally began to show changes. They gradually condense into a seed that shines with 6 colors of light, the 6 paths of destiny seed. Although this seed is small, it contains huge power. It is Chen Zhang's understanding of the avenue of heaven and earth, and it is also the hope of Taichu's new era of heaven and earth. When the 6 paths of destiny seed finally took shape, the entire Taichu world seemed to tremble, and a new vitality circulated between heaven and earth. Not only did the heaven and earth tremble in the beginning, but even the distant stars seemed to resonate at this moment. The birth of this force seemed to announce the beginning of a new era. Do you like this site? Donate here. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5458, Central Sinkhole. The Taichu world, which was eroded by the power of Shenyan, has now fallen into endless darkness, and has not ushered in light because of the birth of the 6 paths of destiny seed. We need to go to the central area of Taichu earth, place the 6 paths of destiny seed deep in the center of the earth, and plant a big tree. Chen Shang looked at the 6 paths of destiny seed and said, Sister Jing, we still have a lot to do. Sister Xiaojing nodded and said, Brother, let's set off as soon as possible. By the way, where is the central area of Taichu earth? Chen Shang thought for a while and said, it should be where the Qingxing goddess statue originally was. After the statue was destroyed, the Shenyan forces began to invade. That place must have been occupied by the Shenyan forces. Let's go. Sister Xiaojing was not afraid at all, she shouted cheerfully and was about to set off. Chen Shang said hello to his relatives and friends in the land of stars, gave some instructions, and then hurriedly left the land of stars with his sister Xiaojing and headed for the central area of Taichu heaven and earth. This area is currently under the control of Shenyan forces and is full of dangers and unpredictable powerful enemies. The Shenyan force is an evil and powerful existence. They take pleasure in destruction and will not easily allow Chen Shang and sister Xiaojing's plan to succeed. Chen Shang knew the risks of going there, but he didn't hesitate at all. For the future of Taichu heaven and earth, and for the hope of all living beings, this is what he must do. The six paths divine mirror shuttled through the endless darkness. Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing sat on it, resisting all kinds of tyrannical divine forces. He turned to Sister Xiao Jing, with a slight worry in his eyes. Sister Jing, the place we are going to is very dangerous, and I cannot guarantee that everything will go smoothly. Otherwise, you can stay in the land of stars. Sister Xiao Jing shook her head without hesitation, and then hummed, Brother, how can the six paths divine mirror do it without me? No matter how dangerous it is, I will go with you. Only together will we have a greater chance of success. Chen Shang didn't know what kind of enemy he would face this time. Without the help of the Golden Servant and the Servant of the Five Elements, Chen Shang would have difficulty resisting the powerful Servant of Shenyan again. The current situation in the Taichu land is very complicated, and we don't know what kind of powerful Shenyan enemies are hidden. Chen Shang summoned the world-proud divine furnace and placed the six paths of destiny properly in it. The divine furnace not only protects the seed, but also provides it with continuous energy to maintain its vitality. The six paths divine mirror burst out with bursts of intense divine power, passing through the dark dense fog of Shenyan and heading towards the center of Taichu earth. Along the way, they encountered constant interference and attacks from gods and evil beings. These forces are as invisible as ghosts, sometimes turning into black whirlwinds, sometimes turning into biting ice, trying to stop their progress. Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing did not flinch, and used his six-path divine power to create barriers one after another to block those attacks. Sister Xiao Jing used the power of the six paths divine mirror to resist and fight back, protecting the two of them from moving forward safely. After a difficult flight, they finally arrived at the edge of the central area of Taichu earth. The scene here is completely different from the outside world. The land is everywhere corrupted by the power of Shenyan, and there is a depressing and ominous atmosphere in the air. Chen Shang warned Sister Xiao Jing, because the most dangerous part was about to begin. He held Xiao Jing's sister's hand tightly, and the two encouraged each other and walked step by step towards the core of Taichu earth. Just as they entered the core area, at that moment, a deafening roar suddenly sounded from the sky and the earth, as if in response to their challenge. Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing had already discussed before that their trip had only one purpose. No matter what, they must plant the six paths of destiny seed, and start a new era of the Taichu world. Even if you sacrifice yourself, you must complete it. After entering the central area, everything here is completely different. The very strong power of Shenyan's destiny is shaking the space every moment. Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing both felt very uncomfortable at this moment. This kind of power obviously exceeded the limit that this space could carry. If this power is allowed to spread in, Taichu heaven and earth will definitely be exploded. At this moment, a very strong and terrifying force struck, and Sister Xiao Jing and Chen Shang, who were sitting on the six paths divine mirror, were instantly blown away by this force. Very strong, Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing immediately joined forces to control the six paths divine mirror to resist the violent attack that followed. It was an extremely terrifying force of divine destiny. The moment it struck, it also tore the surrounding space into pieces. In other words, the divine mirror of six paths possesses the powerful divine power of the six paths of destiny and can barely resist it. I am the new servant of Shenyan. It was you who fought against the servant last time, right? You actually dare to come to me. This time I can destroy you with the puppet I refined. A voice came. Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing also saw the puppet at this moment. This puppet is tall, its body is made of black bones, and it exudes a cold and evil aura. Its power is shockingly powerful, and every movement is full of destructive power. We can't beat this guy right now! Exclamation mark. Chen Shang secretly transmitted a message to Sister Xiao Jing, don't waste too much time with it, we must enter the depths of the center of the earth as soon as possible. Quote. In the fierce battle with this puppet, Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing were still at a disadvantage despite their best efforts. The golem's attacks are ferocious and emotionless, each blow carrying the power to destroy everything. In this difficult battle, the two men were gradually covered with scars, but they still persisted and refused to give up. In the end, faced with a disparity in power, both Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing were bruised and bruised. The opportunity has come. Chen Shang seized the opportunity and mobilized the power of the six destiny seeds to send the puppet flying far away. Then, taking advantage of the momentary gap, he took Sister Xiao Jing and jumped into a huge sinkhole in the center of Taichu earth. This pit is bottomless, exudes inexplicable power, and seems to lead to the depths of the central earth. Chen Shang and Sister Xiao Jing held each other tightly as they fell. This might be their last chance. They kept falling, and the air around them was filled with mysterious power. As they continued to go deeper, the surrounding light gradually dimmed, and all sounds gradually disappeared, leaving only the whistling of the wind. Finally, they reached the bottom of the pit and found that it was a huge underground space, surrounded by mysterious light and unknown energy. Strange, this place does not seem to have been invaded by the divine power. Chen Shang was very surprised. There used to be the statue of the goddess Qingxing above here. Maybe Sister Qingxing has done a lot of things down here over the years, just for today. Sister Xiaojing was suddenly very excited. Brother, Sister Qingxing is very wise. Man, she has arranged a lot of things before. World Defying Dan God Chapter 5459, The Twilight Zone. Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing stood at the bottom of the pit, carefully observing this mysterious underground space. They felt the mysterious power emanating from here, which was completely different from the divine power on the surface, as if this place was protected by some kind of divine power. This place is really unusual, Chen Shang whispered, looking around at the light that was full of hope, as if there was some kind of secret waiting for them to discover. Sister Xiaojing thought of Qingxing. She thought that this underground space might be related to the goddess Qingxing. Her eyes were full of determination, and she believed that Qingxing had left some important clues here, or had arranged something to deal with future crises. The two took steps to explore this underground world. Soon after, they came to a huge underground palace, which exuded a mysterious light and had ancient runes carved on the walls. It seemed to be an ancient ritual place. Just as they were staring at the underground palace, suddenly, an extremely powerful force surged deep in the underground palace. A huge vortex began to form, and a huge and terrifying monster emerged from the center of the vortex. This monster is huge and behemoth. It combines the energy of Shenyang destiny and Shenyan destiny in its body, making it a yin-yang monster. Its appearance is twisted and twisted, emitting waves of dark and light energy at the same time. This is an unprecedented monster, full of violent power. What is this? Sister Xiaojing exclaimed. Chen Shang frowned. He felt that the appearance of this yin-yang monster must have great significance. Perhaps, this monster is some kind of secret connecting Shenyang destiny and Shenyan destiny. The yin-yang monster made a low roar and rushed towards Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing. 6 Paths Divine Mirror, open. Sister Xiaojing sacrificed the 6 Paths Divine Mirror, and Chen Shang then injected his own 6 Paths of Destiny power. The divine mirror shined brightly, illuminating the entire dark bottom of the pit. And the yin and yang monster was also shocked by the strong light. He backed away in shock, then jumped into a cloud of mist and disappeared. At this time, Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing also saw clearly the situation of the huge underground palace ahead. The underground palace is filled with an ancient and mysterious atmosphere, and the stone walls are carved with complex patterns and runes. Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing moved forward cautiously, always alert to possible dangers. Suddenly, a cold breath hit his face, and several powerful yin and yang demons appeared from the darkness. They have twisted bodies and fierce eyes. These yin-yang demons possess the extreme powers of Shenyang and Shenyin, and their attack methods are strange and unpredictable. Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing were severely injured by the puppet before, but now they had to enter fighting mode immediately. They cooperated tacitly and used the power of the 6 Paths Divine Mirror to deal with the yin and yang demon. Every attack stirred up strong energy fluctuations, and the entire underground palace shook. During the fierce battle, they discovered that although these yin and yang demons were powerful, they seemed to be subject to some limitations and were unable to fully exert the terrifying power of the divine yin power. Chen Shang guessed that all this might be related to Qingxing. A strong wave of yin and yang energy came, and suddenly dozens of yin and yang monsters rushed out from the surrounding black fog, each letting out a shrill roar. The sound was distorted and harsh, like the call of the devil. Chen Shang grabbed Xiaojing's sister's hand, and the two held the 6 Paths Divine Mirror tightly, preparing for this thrilling battle. The first yin-yang monster rushed towards him. Chen Shang raised his hand and shot out a ray of light, knocking it away and letting out a scream. Sister Xiaojing followed and used the light of the magic mirror to completely eliminate it. More twilight monsters followed, and they attacked Fang. Cunning and elusive, some released powerful flame attacks, some created dark vortexes, and some transformed poisonous mist. The yin and yang monsters seemed to give full play to the advantages of Shenyang and Shenyan, causing Chen Shang and sister Xiaojing to fall into a fierce fight. Middle. Chen Zhang's body shone with light, and like a asterisk of war, he used the six-path divine power of destiny and the azure dragon demon slaying knife to defeat the yin-yang monsters again and again. Sister Xiaojing's movements were nimble and she quickly switched attack targets, using the six paths divine mirror to protect Chen Shang at all times. The roars of the twilight monsters continued to sound, and their figures continued to flicker in the intersection of light and darkness. The atmosphere in the underground palace became extremely tense, and the battle became more and more fierce. Chen Shang felt exhausted quickly, but his determination was unbreakable. When he saw a powerful enemy attacking Xiaojing's sister, he rushed forward and killed a yin-yang monster with his magic sword. In this life and death fight, the yin and yang monsters were defeated one by one, each wailing, their bodies twisted and deformed, and finally turned into nothingness. The atmosphere in the underground palace gradually calmed down, but Chen Shang and sister Xiaojing were already covered with scars. After the fierce battle, although Chen Shang and sister Xiaojing were exhausted, the crisis was far from over. Suddenly, a gloomy voice echoed from above, followed by a shadow puppet, its figure looming in the darkness, like a ghost in the night. The eyes of the yin servant puppet flashed with indifference. It descended slowly, its pace was steady and full of oppression. Although Chen Shang and sister Xiaojing were injured, they still stared at this new enemy with vigilance. The puppet in front of them was different from the ones they had encountered before, but what was certain was that it was still the puppet of the servant of Shenyan. In other words, there are also puppets in this underground pit. Under the crisis of approaching puppets, Chen Shang and sister Xiaojing hurriedly took a step back, trying to find an opportunity to escape. However, the pace of the yin servant puppet was like a heavy hammer, slowly approaching, making it impossible for them to escape easily. The entrance to the underground palace is right in front of them. It is majestic and huge, and seems to be their only refuge. Chen Shang held Xiaojing's sister's hand tightly and motioned to follow him. Then they decided to try their skills and rushed towards the entrance of the underground palace. The yin servant puppet sensed their intentions and immediately launched an attack. It releases energy fluctuations where yin and yang meet, completely blocking the entrance to the underground palace. A huge shock wave swept through, causing the entrance to the underground palace to collapse, with rocks flying everywhere. Chen Shang and sister Xiaojing were hit by the violent energy fluctuations, stumbled and almost lost their balance. They felt a huge pressure, as if the entire underground palace was shaking. However, just when they thought they could not hide in the underground palace, a mysterious force suddenly surrounded them and led them into the depths of the underground palace. This power was like the blessing of a clear star, allowing them to successfully escape the pursuit of the yin servant puppets. After entering the underground palace, they felt a peaceful and mysterious atmosphere. The interior of the underground palace is spacious and deep, filled with ancient carvings and mysterious runes. This seems to be the ruins of the sunny star goddess, full of mysteries and secrets. Chen Shang breathed a sigh of relief, and sister Xiaojing also breathed a sigh of relief. They exchanged a tacit look, understanding that this might contain the key to solving the immediate crisis. Chen Shang said, "There may be clues left by Qingxing in this underground palace. We must search carefully to find everything she left behind. This should be the center of the Taichu earth, but now it seems that it is not suitable to plant the six paths of destiny seed." Sister Xiaojing sighed and said, "We can only see what Sister Qingxing left here first, and then make other plans." World Defying Dan God Chapter 5460, Demon Army Killing Formation. After Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing entered the underground palace door, the door was open, but it was pitch black outside. The puppet could not come in and could only attack wildly outside. "Let's recover from the injury first." Chen Shang looked at Sister Xiaojing and said with some distress, "Sister Jing, how are you? Does it hurt?" "Brother, I'm not afraid of pain. I am a weapon soul after all. The body I cultivated by myself, after being sacrificed by myself, is a divine weapon in itself." Sister Xiaojing said with a smile, "It's you have to take care of yourself. Rest and heal." Chen Shang smiled, then pinched her cheek and said, "If you pinch your little face, you don't want to be coldly angry at all." Sister Xiaojing controlled the six paths divine mirror to float in the air. After it became larger, the mirror faced herself and Chen Shang, releasing a light that could heal injuries. Chen Shang and Sister Xiaojing were bathed in the light of the divine mirror, and their injuries quickly recovered. This was mainly due to the power of the Six Paths Destiny Seed. They had successfully escaped the pursuit of the Yin servant puppet, and after quickly recovering from their injuries, they entered the depths of the underground palace and began to explore this mysterious and magnificent underground palace. The architectural style and decoration of the palace show that it was designed and built by Qingxing himself in order to deeply study the combination of the two powers of Shenyang destiny and Shenyan destiny. The interior of the underground palace is filled with complex runes and patterns. These are Qingxing's deep understanding and exploration of the power of destiny. Chen Xiang and Sister Xiao Jing followed the ancient runes and carvings on the stone wall, trying to find the clues left by the sunny star goddess. Every step was full of unknowns and dangers, but they never flinched. During the process of going deep into the underground palace, they found some ancient documents and instruments, which were evidence that Qingxing studied the destiny of Shenyang and Shenyan. By interpreting these documents, they learned that Qingxing was indeed studying how to combine these two powers and looking for a way to restrain Shenyan's destiny. In a stone room as large as a square inside the underground palace, they discovered a huge ceiling formation, and the formation was filled with powerful energy fluctuations. Chen Xiang and Sister Xiao Jing immediately realized that this formation was used to seal those powerful yin and yang demons. Through the runes on the formation, they learned that these yin-yang demons were created by Qingxing in order to study the combination of Shenyang destiny and Shenyan destiny. However, because the power of the yin and yang demons was too powerful and difficult to control, Qingxing had to seal them here to prevent them from running out and causing destruction to the Taichu earth. Chen Xiang and Sister Xiao Jing understand that if these yin and yang demons cannot be properly dealt with, they may become tools of the Shenyan forces and pose a greater threat to the Taichu land. At this time, Chen Xiang and Sister Xiao Jing also approached the large formation and saw a large number of yin and yang demons inside. The number of sealed yin-yang demons is shocking. They are placed in a huge ceiling formation. The formation is engraved with complex runes and patterns. Each rune shines with a weak but stable light, maintaining the stability of the seal. The total number of sealed yin and yang demons exceeds 1,000. They come in different shapes and sizes, but each of them exudes powerful energy fluctuations. These yin and yang demons were arranged in an orderly manner within the ceiling formation, forming a spectacular and terrifying picture.